Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Monroe Planning and Zoning Commission. This is a special meeting for January the 24th, 2024. It is 7:08 p.m. I am Michael O'Reilly, the chairman. If you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll start by calling the roll, starting with Dominic.
Dominic Smergalino, alternate commissioner.
Brian Condon, Commissioner.
Leanne Ambrosi, Commissioner.
Bruno Maini, Commissioner.
Robert Westland, Commissioner.
Nicole, alternate commissioner.
Chuck Andrus, outside counsel for the commission.
Kathleen Gallagher, planning and zoning administrator.
Sarah Stroud, recording secretary.
Thank you, everyone. The beginning of the meeting is the time for general public participation. This is the time when the public can address the commission on any items not on the agenda. So tonight's public hearing, you will have time to address the commission regarding tonight's public hearing, but this is not the time for that. If there are any other items that anyone in the public, whether online or in person, would like to address the commission about, this is the time for that. Just raise your hand and you will be heard. I see no one raising their hand in person.
Oh, Mike, hold on. We have one.
Okay, go ahead.
You got to come up to the mic.
Yeah.
It's my question. I can just.
You got to come up to the mic, name and address for the record, please.
Yeah.
You have to. Name and address for the record, please. It's not shady. Okay, thank you. No, we don't have anybody, Mike.
No one online?
No one online.
All right, then we will start the public hearing tonight, SCP 2023-11, 139, 141, and 201 Turkey Roost Road and 30 Cobblers Hill Court. Commissioner Condon, you have the notice?
Yep. In accordance with CGS 8-7D, a public hearing will be held on Tuesday, January 23rd at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter via hybrid Zoom meeting and in-person attendees at Monroe Town Hall Council Chambers. SCP 2023-11, file 1659A, 139, 141, and 201 Turkey Roost Road and 30 Cobblers Hill Court. Special exception permit for proposed construction of 99 single-family detached dwellings served by 5,950 linear feet of driveway located at 139, 141, and 201 Turkey Roost Road and 30 Cobblers Court. Assessor map 107, lots 003, 004, 008/1, 008/2. Quarry Ridge Associates LLC owner, J. Edwards and Associate LLC representative. Notice was published in Voices on Wednesday, January 3rd and January 10th. Back to you, Mike.
Thank you, Commissioner Condon. And Kathleen, you have the exhibits.
Exhibit 1 was the application and site plan, which included the special exception permit application dated November 14th, 2023, prepared by J. Edwards Associates, the 100-foot adjoiner list, letter from Aquarian Water Company stating that there's sufficient water supply to meet the demands of the project, dated May 2nd, 2023, Town of Monroe notice, inland and wetland notice and certificate of decision, project narrative dated October 15th, 2023, traffic study prepared by SLR dated November 9th, 2023, impact analysis prepared by Realty Concepts, Inc., dated October 15th, 2023, stormwater management report for the proposed development by J. Edwards Associates, environmental assessment prepared by Steve Danza, dated September 1st, 2023, wildlife study and turf management plan prepared by Environmental Land Solutions, dated September 1st, 2023, environmental friendly landscape management plan prepared by Environmental Land Solutions, wastewater absorption assessment prepared by J. Edwards and Associates, and plan set titled Quarry Ridge in Monroe, Connecticut, prepared for Quarry Ridge Real Estate, dated May 1st, 2023, revised November 14th, 2023, prepared by J. Edwards Associates. We also received Exhibit 2, Town of Monroe Health Department comments, Exhibit 3, Town of Monroe engineering comments. Exhibit 4, conservation comments. Exhibit 5, letter of the extension. Exhibit 6, response to comments and revised dated January 12th, 2024 by J. Edwards and Associates. A letter from Trout Unlimited. That was Exhibit 7. Exhibit 8, Town of Monroe Fire Marshal comments, and Exhibit 9, Planning Zoning Administrator report. Back to you, Mike.
Thank you, Kathleen. And for the applicant, we have,
Yes, Chair, Chris Russo, with Russo and Rizzi LLC, offices at 10 Saskell Hill Road in Fairfield. Here on behalf of the applicant, pleasure to be before you and the commissioners tonight on this application, which again is for the properties located at 139, 141, and 201 Turkey Roost Road and 30 Cobbler's Court. Very excited to be here before you for this application, which has to be one of the most unique opportunities to complete a transformation of a property that at one point prior, keyword prior, to my client's acquisition of the property was a real headache to this town. It was a property that was mired in violations due to an illegal quarry use that had turned 201 Turkey Roost Road essentially into a moonscape that required remediation. You'll see some pictures tonight from that time when it was a quarry and then after remediation. My client purchased the property and completed that remediation. The property was zoned in the MFR, which it remains zoned today, and that's what we're coming in under the MFR. So we completed the remediation. He's paid his taxes on it. All the obligations he had to the town, he fulfilled. But unfortunately, in previous iterations, when he had come forward for development, the economy changed, and he was unable to develop it at that time. My client is now obviously looking to move forward with a proposal to construct 99 single-family dwellings. To do so, we don't need a zone change. We don't need a text change. We don't need a variance. And we've received the necessary approvals from inland wetlands. And we've managed to locate this proposal for the 99 units within the area of the quarry, the former quarry, where obviously there has already been a significant amount of disturbance to the site. Really, I don't think I'll ever be able to sit in front of a P&Z commission and say we're proposing to construct 99 dwellings on an essentially vacant parcel, and we're adding back in a significant number of trees from existing conditions. But due to the extremely unique circumstances surrounding this property, I can say that with this application. And Jason Edwards, who is here, is going to walk you through that. On top of that, we are proposing to protect a significant amount of land with a conservation restriction in perpetuity. This is developable land, but we are providing more land for protection beyond any past submissions and approvals for this property, and well beyond any requirements in your regulations. Again, 201 Turkey Roost Road is already zoned in the MFR. The other properties are located in the RF2 zone. The proposed dwellings are located entirely within the MFR zone with significant setbacks well in excess of the regulations. The MFR zone permits two types of multifamily developments, which is the only residential use that's permitted in the MFR. The first is attached single-family units, which are permitted at the rate of 2.5 units per gross acre. For this site, that would permit a total of 249 units. Or the MFR permits detached single-family units at the rate of 1 unit per acre, which would permit the 99 units that is proposed tonight. So my client chose the far less dense option from the two that's permitted under the current zoning regulation. It's a property that's well in excess of the MFR size requirements, which is only 70 acres. This is 99, a little over 99. And our proposed building coverage is about a fourth of what's allowed in the MFR. And again, on top of this, well in excess of the requirements, we are proposing a massive amount of area to preserve this open space. We have 49.6 acres of open space proposed in the MFR zone, which complies with regulations. But then we've gone above and beyond that and provided an additional 31 acres of open space. This is private land, it's developable land, but we are proposing that it be added in this proposal to be conserved in perpetuity. Where the development is the undisturbed area of the site, where the conservation easements are going, where the development is going is the disturbed area of the site, where the conservation easements are being proposed is the undisturbed area that's beyond where the former quarry was. And you'll see that in Jason's plans. The other thing I wanted to mention before I turn this over to Jason to walk you through the plans is that this is a phased plan. This isn't a plan where you're going to wake up in 6 months or a year and there's going to be 99 units. And Jason will walk you through those phases and what the proposal is. But this is development that will be absorbed by the town over a number of years. It's not going to be all of a sudden at once. There's 99 units that are available for occupancy. So again, we have Jason Edwards. We also have Nick Haven with us to discuss the traffic study, and Stan Yazdowski, close enough, sorry, to discuss his impact analysis. So I will turn it over to Jason to get started. Thank you.
Good evening. For the record, Jason Edwards, J. Edwards Associates, Engineers Surveyors, 227 Stepney Road in Easton. I believe my office also Dave York, present here somewhere, or he will be shortly. He was the original design engineer for this project back when it was approved in 2003. So just to forewarn you, this is a little bit of a long presentation. I apologize for that, but there's a lot of information that I think is all pretty important for you guys to know. So I'm going to take my time and go through it. This is just an overview of the site. The current aerial photo in the background, but I kind of point out the key elements. You've got obviously the red center section. The red section in the middle, which you can't see up there now, is where the homes are going to go. There's the access way that will service the access road or driveway. It follows the path of the existing. There's an existing gravel roadway that follows that same path essentially, and comes up into the former quarry. So this is basically the limits of the quarry is to be developed as homes. The zone lines, which would be the limits of the MFR zone, are the purple. And you'll see that our development is all within that. The open space is the areas that are cross-hatched here, the light hatching. See, and also there's some over here as well and through here. You'll notice that there is a large percentage of this graphically you can see is to remain open space. You also notice that there are very few houses, existing homes, within anywhere near this. It's way back. You cannot see it from the road. It's very isolated back there. This is just a summary of, and much of this information, pretty much all of this information is in the project narrative that was submitted with this. It's not anything new. I'm just trying to make it clear each point. So this is just a breakdown of what the existing parcels are to get to the total of 154 acres. We're proposing to revise these lines to have the development in the center here and then create 1 4-acre parcel at the end of Cowboys Court that would be deed restricted to only allow for 1 single-family residence to be built there. What the applicant is concerned of there is that provides a direct access to the property. They've had a lot of issues of people accessing dirt bikes and hunting and everything else. building a home there would block that. And the other is a 2-acre parcel on Turkey Ridge Road. There's an existing home there. It doesn't make sense to tear down unless it has to be torn down. So it's still a viable home. So the intent is to keep that as a single. The water service will be run up from Fan Hill Road up to the site. We do have a letter from Aquarian provided with the application that indicates they have capacity to provide service to this. So we've also been in discussions on the actual main sizes and whatnot. So they're involved. This is just to give you a little history on the site. It was an illegal quarry dating back to, I believe, the 1940s. You can see on the left here is what it looked like in 2002. It was basically taken down to some water there. It was down to groundwater table here. And it was an active site. 2003, the applicant client purchased it, and he got remediation plans prepared and approved in 2006. He continued to work on it from there and brought it back to the grade it's at now, which is essentially the grade that we're proposing to keep it at. There's very little, relative to the size of this project, there's very little earthwork that needs to be done to regrade this. The site plan, there was a site plan approved along with that remediation. It was approved in 2010. At that time, it was not economically viable to build out the project, so it sat. The permits expired, except for some of them expired, and that's why we're back here. This is a close-up shot of that quarry from 2002. You can see the conveyors here and the very active quarry site. And this is just 2023. We flew the drone and took these images, so this is what it looks like essentially today. It's still a very barren landscape, but it is back to at least a grade that's not exposed to the water table and totally obstructed. This is just a screen to show you the difference between now and then. It's much improved from what it was. And this is an aerial image that we took. It's a little long, I apologize, but it kind of shows just how isolated this site is. That behind there, the wooded area is all the open space that's going to remain. That continues, again, seeing homes back there. And I think the only homes that you're able to see are the ones in the lower section. Everything else would be quite far away from post development. It's almost done. That's the existing access drive you can see coming out. This continues out. That's where the new roadway would be. Ponds will all remain and be protected. I'm not going to go all the way around in a circle. If you want me to come back, we can. Sorry. Okay, this one's a little jumpy. I apologize, but this just shows an overlay of that same footage, just very jumpy. But it shows where the homes are going to be in relation to that. I don't have cleared and disturbed area. The homes all land in the existing disturbed area. And that's purposeful. The grade is, like I said, is very close to what it will be when finished. Short of topsoil and some grading for utilities and whatnot. Sorry if anyone gets nauseous watching this. Okay. These are some renderings we had done just to show, the colors and things are likely to be different, but it just shows sort of in 3D what the development would look like. The plantings also are not completely accurate, but I thought I'd give a good representation what the vision for this is. This would be the access way coming up, the boulevard coming in. This is as you enter coming up to the top of the drive, you come down this split roadway up to the clubhouse. And these are just renderings of the entry and well as the conceivable home styles, and those are subject to taste and builder who builds them. The clubhouse is also shown. We did get obtain a wetlands approval October of this past or last year, and I just gave a copy of this in here. That was a lengthy process that we worked with the town on to town, as well as third-party consultants and 3 environmental consultants of our own on our team from the firm to provide, we feel, incredibly detailed and adequate plan for protection of the wetlands and the environment around it. Just the fact that they're preserving so much land, that in itself is a huge protection to the environment. But when we add in the stormwater treatment that we provided, it really goes a long way. It's just into zoning compliance. Did we decide, Chris, that I was going to go through all this now?
That's good to go.
What I did here, yeah, and what I did, if there's something in particular that you guys want to discuss, but I went through and took the MFR regulation and broke it down, and this is in the narrative that was submitted as well, and just demonstrated how we comply with all these regulations. So I go through everyone. This is just, something on the density. I mean, this is just a conceivable layout. Another permitted use, as Chris said, would be to go into townhouses, 6-unit buildings. And that's another option, but it's not what the applicant wants to build, and it's, in our opinion, it's not the best use of the site. But it is something that would be permitted under the regulations. Obviously, we have to review, but that would be essentially, these numbers may be slightly off based on the latest impact analysis that we got, but it's a 250% increase in the number of units. It's a 100% increase in the number of vehicles based on 2 per unit, and it's 100% increase in children based on 2 per unit. So, as far as an impact to the town in general, we feel that what we're proposing would be far less than that. This goes through just the specifics. This is dimensional requirements and various things, and some of which don't apply to this development at all, but I try to hit every one of them just to make sure we covered our bases.
Ones I would just point out of this whole thing is just one, the setbacks. We are well in excess of setbacks requirements and what you might see on it as well. I mentioned previously the post coverage, which is only 3%. So obviously a very low number. 12% is permitted.
I think I have the separation. Here, that's the use. This refers to the phasing plan, but there's a section later that's really. This is just the depiction of the open space and information just on how effective that is in protecting the environment. It's aimed to effective permanent mitigation, I guess you could call it, or protection of the wildlife and environment in general is to protect the land and prevent it. This is a unique project in a lot of respects, but it will be serviced by a DEP approved septic system that is currently the first phase of that is approved. It was approved back originally in 2003. That permit did not expire, and we went back in and got that, just recently got that approval for the first phase. Now we're going back in to modify that to add additional capacity to the leaching fields However, the treatment, one component of this, it's got a full on-site sewage treatment plant, which is above and beyond what would be required, well above and beyond what's required for anything that would be, approved by the under state health code, which is any development that's currently under 7,500 gallons per day would be under state health code. We're at about 40,000 gallons, so we'd be over that. But there's development paths you could take per parcel. So if someone was to split this into multiple parcels, they could develop it with 7,500 gallons per day per parcel and get to a much higher bedroom count. We're not looking to do that. We're looking to do it with the DEP treatment system, which is, in our opinion, far more effective from a long-term standpoint. It's far more regulated. There's quarterly monitoring. There's many protections put in place to make sure that that system is functioning. And the numbers are here. We can go through all of them. I don't know. We're not going to bother. This is just some quotes from reports, or a quote from a report that was prepared by a study that was done by the DEP over a 5-year period on the same treatment plant system that we are proposing. They've installed at the time they did this, it was they had, I think, 6 plants that they were including in the study. They've now got far more in the state. But just to read it, the groundwater monitoring located within the zone of influence of the permitted system has continued to consistently show levels of total nitrogen, total phosphorus, and fecal coliform technology are suitable for drinking water and other domestic uses without further treatment and do not appear to be cause for concern. So what that's saying is that when the water or wastewater leaves that treatment system, it is clean and can be drinkable. Whether you would want to drink it or not, that's up to you. But that's what they're saying. So what we're doing is we're taking that and then we're treating it a step further. We're putting it back into the ground, into leaching fields, and we've got a hydrologic analysis done by a hydrogeologist that demonstrates that the travel time for the water subsurface will be in excess of 21 days before it reaches another property line, body of water, or anything else that they consider to be impacted by that. So we're essentially double treating this. And this is just a breakdown of what I just said for DEP versus state health code. DEP standards, currently they apply to design flows greater than 7,500 gallons per parcel. That actually legislature changed on that. The legislature approved that to go up to 10,000 gallons per parcel. That hasn't gone into effect yet. Supposedly in 2025, that will be changing to 10,000 gallons. DEP standards, they require that hydrogeologist analysis that I just mentioned. The standards are site specific and they're adjusted to the constraints of the site. They require quarterly monitoring for the groundwater for the life of the system. Permits must be renewed. And we must compute that 21-day travel time. That health code systems, they're smaller systems, but as I said, they can be lumped together on different parcels. The designs are based on just a simple analysis of the groundwater depth to ledge, and the percolation rates of the soil. It's sort of a one-size-fits-all criteria. It's not very site-specific. There's no requirements of site monitoring or reporting at all. Permits never expire. There's no required setback to the wetlands. And as I said, the sites can be divided into multiple parcels, which then allow far greater flows. Just to give a breakdown of the permit flow process for these septic systems. They take a long time to design and get approved. That's why you don't see very many of them. This took years before it got approved in 2003, and then we spent years more on it. But it begins with a preliminary site investigation to determine treatment area feasibility. Then we do a site design and calculation of preliminary discharge estimates. We prepare a detailed soil and groundwater study and prepare groundwater mounding model. It provides the available design flow capacity. Now that step is what we have done in the 2 other areas that we are expanding to. So we completed that part and we know what capacity we have. It's just a matter of doing final design and fields to satisfy the need. That's the next step, prepare engineered site plans. Then you would submit to local permit applications, obtain local permits, which is what we have now. Submit deep permit applications, prepare deep design drawings, obtain deep permit to construct, and obtain a local building permit. Now the difference here is that we already have, for phase one, we have step 7, 8, and 9. So we are, we don't have the D permit to construct yet. It's awaiting signature of the chairman of the commissioner of deep. So once we have that, then we can basically go for a building permit if we have all of it for phase one, which is up to 20,000 gallons. This is just an email from Lauren Jones that he confirms that process I just outlined. This is just kind of an overview of the site and the drainage pattern, where the discharges are. This is the development area, and we've got a variety of pipe networks here, but they go out to 3 major, technically 4 outfalls, but 4 outfalls. There's 3 large basins. There's 1 smaller basin over here, and there's a large rain garden in the middle. We've also got another outfall that continues out past here. And the reason for all this is that when we originally came into wetlands, we had, based on the previous design as well, there's a large pond, and that was a hand dug pond or man-made pond as part of the quarry operation. So we had, planned to utilize that for our stormwater, some of our stormwater retention, because it was a man-made pond. But the environmental experts asked if we could eliminate that. So we found a way to do that by creating these large ponds, and we provide all stormwater treatment and retention required by DEP guidelines for up to 100-year storm without any change in flow to these ponds, up or down. We're within very close numbers to peak flows, high or low, and during all storm events. That's volume and peak velocity. So it's, in that sense, it's a very unique project because that doesn't usually happen, especially with a project this size. Generally have some increase of that number. We don't have that. And these are the stormwater peak flows and peak volumes. And you can see the runoff volumes. The deltas are here on the side. They're all very close. This is just this information is all in our stormwater report that was reviewed by the town engineer as part of the wetlands permit. So he's had further comments unrelated to this information on the current submittal, but he has signed off on the drainage plan. So these are the pollutant removal numbers that are required by the guidelines, and they either exceed those or we exceed them. As far as the excavation and filling goes, as I said, this site was remediated with this plan in mind, essentially. I mean, it was slightly different. There's a few more units now, but the overall layout was very similar. The road network was similar in grade. So at the time the remediation was done, the applicant pre-blasted a lot of this. So it's covered over shot rock, basically, which means it's blasted rock that could be excavated. So it doesn't have to be blasted again now, with the exception of these few areas I highlighted in blue. There's certainly the possibility that there could be other areas, but we don't anticipate a large amount of blasting on it. Relatively isolated to a few areas that we find that all the topsoil is already on site. It's stockpiled, basically a mound in this back corner. So the import of soil, or the other benefit of that too, is that the applicant is planning to utilize this material that's here, crush it in place on site, and use it for road base for whatever other materials he needs on site. So that he does not have to bring in hundreds of truckloads of materials to build this, nor does he have to export large volumes of material. It's all, I mean, for a project this size, it's a very small amount that has to come based on our analysis. This is how we set up our phasing plan. So we had to take into consideration what I just talked about, that we need the material from certain areas on the site to use on other areas of the site. So we had to start here and make our way up this way, and then do the middle, and then around this way. And that's just the way that we need to take material from this side and use it here, and then we have to start it around. I'm not going to read through all of this. It is also provided in plans in the narrative. like to go through it again. 20 units here, phase two, 19 units and 20, and then final phase 31. So I think the regulations for the 5-year period for that build out, I don't know if that's required.
Yeah, there's a restriction in the regulations regarding the length of phasing, which I actually think is a restriction on the commission, so that the commission could say, okay, you're approved for 99 units, but you have to build it over 20 years or something like that. So it limits it to 5 years. But regardless, we've split it up into 4 phases that we would intend to try to complete within that time frame. And the other restriction, I think, is that it can't be, the restriction can't be more than a third of the units. But with our proposal, I don't think any phase gets over. No.
He's all very free, so there are 31 would be the 4th phase, which is the largest one, but everything else is below. And just to be clear, this phasing, it's reference to the actual unit build out. We're applying for and asking for the permit for the entire development at once, not a phased permit. We want the special exception to apply to the site. This is a very unique situation too. The trees, as you saw in the aerial photos, that there's virtually 0 trees within this whole area here that we're going to redevelop. So we actually went and did an inventory of the total number of trees out here. That's approximate, but I did quite a bit of it myself with aerial photos. But we come up with an existing total tree count of 2,791. For this entire development, we are removing 74 trees roughly. And remaining, that would leave 2,712, and we're proposing 417 trees. So post-construction, you'd have 3,129 trees. Significant increase from what's there today. And this is just reference to the trees actually in the regulated area that was requested the Wetlands Commission. And in addition to that 400 trees, there's hundreds of shrubs that will also be planted. That's all identified in the landscape plan prepared by Environmental Land Solutions. But the green dots are trees here, and then the lighter green dots are trees that we're planting here. You can see all the forested areas and the area that is actually going to revegetate. This is just the sediment erosion control, the layers of protection we have there. So we've got barriers, multiple places coming down the hillside. Again, a lot of this is protected just because we don't have to do very much work down here. You build the basins and then you don't go back down there. Everything is up here. And the way that this was remediated, there's a berm across here that really provides a lot of protection. Just in itself, there was an issue. And there's no topsoil here on site except for what's stockpiled. So that's a lot of what you get in your runoff is the topsoil. It's not here. This is just to clarify that the plan is in compliance with the 2023 guidelines for soil erosion and sediment control. Those are new this year. We have CG1 has a stormwater pollution control plan, which includes site monitoring. You have a construction sequence, and you have owner and contractor certification statements required, as part of the permit. This is just some of the alternatives that we considered, or that this is the same one I mentioned with it earlier in this presentation. As what could be built under the current zone, and it's like I said before, it's 41 6-unit houses. I already spoke about that. This is a little bit larger picture. And then, another alternative would be to come in, outside of zoning and do something on a larger scale, higher density. Again, this is something we considered, but it's not what the applicant wants to do, and it's not something that we plan to do. It's just what the potential for this site is far greater than what we're proposing to do. 99 home versus we got 500 apartments here. So and that's only in that one area. So we're not planning to do that, and we don't want to do that. So But this site has far more potential for development than what we are. This is actually the economic impacts section, so I will step away and turn that over to. Want to go now? Then. Put it up, that's fine. Oh, the records, doesn't it? Yeah, good about the supplement. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stanley Yazdowski. I'm president of Realty Concepts Incorporated, a real estate consulting advisory firm in Guilford, Connecticut. I'll give you a little bit of my background. Been in the business for over 40 years. I was an adjunct professor at NYU for 25 years, retired from there. I've been a CCIM instructor, which is a educational designation for commercial realtors and real estate people with graduate level courses. I teach the finance and taxation and particularly the market analysis and demographics course, 102 course there. I've been on my own since 1984. I was vice president of Cushman & Wakefield in New York, working on a number of major assets, providing consulting advisory work at that time. I've taught all over the United States, consulted mainly on the East Coast, and I've taught and consulted internationally over the years, particularly in Eastern Europe. I was engaged by the applicant to perform a development impact study, which I did as of October 15, 2023. And the date of the report was November 2nd, 2023. And let me just walk you through the process that I did to perform this analysis. One thing people have to keep in mind is that all real estate demand is based on one thing only, and that's employment. Okay. When you have employment and you have growth in employment, there is demand for industrial and there's demand for industrial and office real estate. And as that sector grows, and there's a component within that, well, basic employment, as that basic employment grows, people start coming in from outside the area, and there's growth in population. We have growth of population, you have growth in retail and residential real estate, all forms of that. And there's also, that is based on disposable income. So Maslow's order of hierarchy, we have demand for food, shelter, clothing, and so forth on the line. We ran into a very unique situation, something with COVID that exacerbated that or accelerated some things that were happening in the marketplace. There were dynamics, paradigm shifts taking place, and COVID kind of accelerated that. And there was a little bump just after COVID started where people were fleeing urban areas and coming to suburban areas like Fairfield County, where there was a spike in the demand for housing. And I believe it was about 16,000 households that moved to Fairfield County between January 1st, 2020, and I believe it was March 31st to April 30th that they moved to Fairfield County. My analysis was taking a look at all the factors. I reviewed the proposed development for the 99 And this is a zero lot line common interest community. It's a condominium, is the other word that you use, but a common interest community, which means that the land is in common and the purchaser would purchase the single family resident that they're living in, be responsible for the repairs and maintenance of, but the ground care, the road maintenance, the trash removal, anything associated with the maintenance and care of the exterior of the complex would be part of the association. So that adds a layer of control that typically does not exist with just municipal rules and regulations, because with this type of development of common interest community, they have rules and regulations like you can't put the trash out, just picking out of the air, which may not be the case, but you can't put the trash out the night before. You have to put it out at 7 in the morning and take it in by 7 at night, things like that. If there's an abandoned car, they have the right to tow it, where the municipality has to go through a different type of process. So there's more controls and there's specifications that have to be met in order to maintain the unit. So there's control over the unit, which does one thing. It helps demand for the product, but also helps maintain the value of the properties that are there. So common interest communities have a very positive effect from a control standpoint. What I did, I analyzed the Fairfield County and the Monroe demographics. One of the major things that has impacted demand is lifestyle. There's been a paradigm shift in the lifestyle change. So I looked at the lifestyle impact on Monroe, Fairfield County, compared it to the state. I looked at employment calculations and trends, looked at housing demand and trends in housing, and I looked at the municipal services that would be demanded by a project like this, which would be police, fire, EMS, public works, and schools. I did do analysis that included contacting the fire marshal, EMS, police, public works, and the school system. Fire marshal had written me a letter that there would be no fiscal impact due to this development if it were in place as of today. Now, the other thing to remember, as mentioned earlier, we're looking at it as if this project is in place and completed as today. That's not going to happen. I'll get to that a little bit later. We'll talk a little bit about controversy. I contacted and reached out a number of times to the EMS people. They never responded, but I did a prior project in town and I used some of the data from that. And I would anticipate to be about 40 to 50 calls a year, resulting in about 2 additional EMTs. And that would be an additional cost of the town of about $125,000, which would be for the salary and benefits that would be required. I did talk to the police chief, and our discussions led that this type of project would probably require 1 additional police officer. I used the full price of $125,000 for benefits and salary for that. There will be no impact due to public works because it's a common interest community. The roads, any lighting systems, ground care is all taken care of by the association that would be created. In November report, the date that I did this report, the analysis resulted in about 64 school-age children. How did I get that? Well, I talked to the school system, to the superintendent. I looked at the multi-housing council and other sources that are within my report and looked at the ratio that was being used for single-family residences. Now, these residences, hasn't been mentioned yet, are 4-bedroom units. 4-bedroom units, 3 bathrooms, and it has a study already planned into each of the units. And plus there's the living room, the family room, and the kitchen area, okay, with a 2-car garage. So the units themselves already address one of the issues that always is raised is, well, what's going to happen with because of COVID and the paradigm shift with people working at home. Well, there's already a study built in here. So the question is, how many school-age children will this produce, and how many people are going to live in a unit like this? And I'll address that a little bit more later, because I just did an update as of this month to do a comparison between this proposed project and the two alternatives to estimate the impact on the school system and to anticipate what the absorption would be for each of the different alternatives. Okay. Again, in November, the report analysis was 64. There's one page in here I saw, and I forgot to mention. It says 70. It's not 70. It's 64. It's a typographical error. And public school children per unit for the proposed development at a cost of $18,449 per student. That would be a educational cost that this project would generate of about $1,180,000 for those 64 school-age children. If the 99 units were in place as of the date of the analysis, it would generate about $2,043,000 from real property taxes and about $111,000 for personal property tax, which would be the car, which most people forget. These projects, when they come in, they also generate the personal property tax from the automobile. So that would total about $2,154,000 in new tax revenue. When I did my analysis, if you go through it, it showed a net positive tax revenue to the town of about $674,000. And what I would like to do is just read the conclusions from this report to get it into the record. And again, the date of the report is as of October 15, 2023, and it's November 2nd, 2023. As of the date of this analysis, the demand does exist for contemporary intergenerational luxury residential common interest communities in Monroe, Connecticut, due to lifestyle change and demand. Future demand will continue to increase since millennials' earnings will continue to increase. The proposed condominium community should be an alternative to higher price Fairfield County West. Your Fairfield County East is how you are delineated with Moody's Analytics and with some other sources, okay, which is the Stanford Norwalk residential market. The study area target market has an income level, current home value and net worth that should meet the threshold income range to purchase the proposed contemporary residential condominium community units. The impact on the municipal service is minimal or at no impact as reported. The impact on Monroe Public Schools resulted in a generation of about 64 school-age children. The additional student cost to educate would be covered by the tax revenue generated by the subject development. The proposed 99-unit freestanding unit condominium community, if in place as of today and under current market conditions, would produce a net positive revenue to the town of Monroe of about $674,000. So that's what this big report says. And the supporting data is what basically is in here to support those conclusions. Okay. I performed this month a comparative analysis of the alternative developments that could be developed on the site and the impact on the Monroe school system based on absorption. And I have an addendum that up to the now. Yeah, that's that. And what this addendum says.
Come on, let's see.
What this addendum says, and I'm passing out there, the comparative analysis of the alternative developments that could be developed on the site and the impact on the Monroe school system based on absorption. The proposed 99-unit zero-lot line common interest community, I looked at the townhouse alternative of 246 units, 61 bedroom units, and 42 bedroom units. And and the last alternative, a 500-unit, all two-bedroom apartment unit. I conducted a survey. What I did, I conducted a survey from Trumbull up to Oxford, along the Route 8 corridor, for new complexes that are apartment complexes that have been just developed within a recent period, within 2 years. And I was able to find cooperation from some of the owners. Cooperation today is difficult at best with market conditions that exist today, but the apartment owners did cooperate with me, and the following information was developed. The data illustrates that the impact of public school age children on the Monroe school system for each of the alternatives. The most public school age children generated is from the townhouse alternative, with about 157 students, public school age children, with an absorption period over 10 years. So it's going to take 10 years of that. So it's not going to be 157 today, but over a 10-year period. That's what would possibly happen. The proposed development that we're looking at here today, the 99-unit zero lot line development, generates about 64, 63 public school age children over an absorption period of about 6.5 years. Both these developments generate public school age children which spread over the 6.5 to 10 years. So its growth is spread over that time period. The apartment development generates about 60 public school age children spread over an absorption period of 3.5 years. The apartment development has the potential to have the most impact on the Monroe school system more rapidly than the proposed development or the townhouse alternative. The issue with the townhouse alternative is the number of public school age children. If you look at the analysis that I did on the page where my signature is, I looked at the proposed developments. I looked at the cost to educate. And one of the things I looked at, and one of the things I developed in the analysis, is a student-teacher ratio, which is about 14.16 students to a teacher. That's in there, and that's in the big matrix that's in the report. And what it tells me is that the proposed project, if we just looked at adding more teachers, would generate about a need for an additional 4 teachers. And if we take that over the absorption period, you're going to not absorb, you're not going to put 4 a year, it's going to be over time. But the townhouse development, okay, the townhouse development would demand or anticipate the addition of 11 new teachers if the townhouse development. And the apartments would have a demand of about the same for the proposed project of about 4 additional teachers. And the cost to educate with the new numbers that I just got, because when I did the original report, the 2023 numbers weren't available. And I updated the 2023 numbers, and that's what's represented in this addendum. And the proposed development is about $1,166,000 to educate the children. The apartments is about $1,110,000, but the townhouse is about $2.9 million if it was fully developed and in place as of that. So it's a much more demanding type of development. And on the page before that, you can see I took a look at the alternative development, public school age children. And there, if you look at that chart on page 2, there is the number of units, public school age children for each of the phases. And you can see that phase 1 for the proposed development is 29 units, which will be about 24-month absorption. It's going to take 2 years to absorb that number. So just keep in mind that we have to divide that out to see what the anticipated absorption would be or the impact on the school system. Now, discussions with the Monroe Superintendent of Schools revealed that irrelevant of any new development in town, doesn't matter whether it's this project or anything else, of any new residential construction of any type, Monroe is facing the need for more classroom space. The townhouse alternative most likely will produce the most public school age children, about 157, and require more teachers, about 11, and it'll take 10 years to absorb. The apartment alternative produces about 60 public school age children. Proposed development, about 63, 64 children, but adversely impact the school system because it's absorbed over a shorter period of time. It's going to put more pressure on the school system if you put the apartments in. And it will add 4 teachers. As demonstrated, the proposed development of the zero lot line common interest community has the potential to have a more favorable impact on Monroe school systems with about 6.5-year absorption to phase in the estimated 63 public school age children, generate lower number of new teachers, and tax generation that more than support the additional student increase due to this development. So that's a summary of what I presented to you through the original report in the addendum. There's, let me just ask one question. Forward. I said 600%. Yeah, it also have to keep in mind that as the population grows, there's more disposable income, which supports the businesses in town. And you have this nice neighborhood, this nice community that's created. And it should be a positive generator from both a social and from an economic standpoint for the town of Monroe. Any questions? We'll have the answers.
Chair, I don't know how you want to handle that. If you want,
We'll take questions at the end of the presentation.
All right. Thanks, Chair. Then Jason's going to come
I
back.
got one more thing on this slide. Again, for the record, Jason, associates, this slide is also a page from the narrative that was submitted, and this uses the numbers that Stan just quoted. And the one other thing I wanted to just highlight is that, as he said, the Fawn Hollow School, in particular, that capacity, and irrelevant of this development, they would need to expand it at some point, probably in the near future. So I took just simple math. I'm not an expert in construction costs or anything, but I found a study on, done by the Connecticut State Legislature in 2017 that put the average cost of square foot of school construction renovation at $250 a square foot. I know that number is probably outdated, but just for a ballpark. Using that, Quarry Ridge would generate tax revenue to fund a 25,000 square foot addition within 10 years. Roughly, this number is probably too accurate here, but it's roughly $6.7 million over that period of time. It's a good sum of money, and it would contribute largely to some level of renovation or new school construction. These other items are also relevant, but I won't go into the detail. That's the point I wanted to make. So I'll pass this on to the next slide, which is this one stand slide. This is just a statement from the traffic study that was prepared by SLR and submitted as part of the application. And there's Nick Havens from SLR is here to talk about this, but based on the results of the capacity and queue analysis, it is our opinion that the increase in traffic because of the proposed project will have no measurable impact on the surrounding roadway system. As such, no traffic mitigation is necessary. That was, in my opinion, the key statement from their report. At this point, I'll pass it on to Nick from Silva.
Jason. Good evening. Thank you for having us. I'm Nick Haban. I'm a registered professional engineer and as well as a professional traffic operations engineer with 40 years of experience. I am a principal engineer at the SLR International Corporation, and I'm representing the firm in the project team. SLR prepared the traffic impact statement for the project. So what we've done is presented over there. We reviewed the existing conditions, estimate future traffic conditions, review site active, evaluate site distances, and determine traffic impacts and provided recommendations. We conducted the traffic study in 3 phases. The first phase involved an evaluation of the one site. The first phase involved the evaluation of existing traffic conditions within the study area, which included an inventory of existing roadway systems and intersection geometries, observation of the traffic volumes, and evaluation of safety conditions. In the second phase of the study, we established a framework for evaluating the transportation impacts of the proposed development and assessing the traffic travel demands forecasts for the site. We used at SLR the Institute of Transportation Engineers EIT publication Trip Generation 11th edition, which is an industry standard to estimate the vehicle trip rates for the development and establish the net trips associated with it. According to the estimated trip generation rates, we expect development to generate approximately 74 trips during the morning peak hour. That includes 19 in and 55 exiting, and 98 trips during the evening peak hour, including 63 in and 35 exiting the site. We use the 2026 as the design year for the analysis, reflecting the no-build and build conditions. The future no-build condition reflects future 2026 conditions if the proposed project was not built, and obviously the future build scenario reflects 2026 with the project completed. The third phase of the report involved the conducting the traffic analysis to evaluate the intersection operations for both built and no-build conditions. We use this analysis as the basis to determine potential project impacts for development and if there's mitigations required. Well, as Jason mentioned on our statement over there on our report, based on our analysis, the proposed development traffic operations along Turkey Roost Road will remain generally unchanged. It's expected that the traffic volumes from the proposed development would have negligible impact on traffic operations at the study area, roadways and intersection, as well as as it will continue to operate at their current level of service with no significant delays on all approaches. And I'm available for questions after. This is the findings that we have. All the intersections operate at level of service C, existing with no bill. We built things on the road. Operate with that. The site driveways will operate as level of service A. There's plenty of site distance on all of the both driveways. Site distance sections.
Again, Jason Edwards for the record. This is just a summary of the environmental impact. And I kind of broke down, went through, as I already said, through the wetlands process, we had, three environmental experts on our team, as well as the third-party review, town engineer, and three engineers from my office. That all contributed to this design to come up with something that we feel is very protective of the environment. But it includes a protection plan, designated crossing area and habitat. The box turtle is an identified species, protected species by Connecticut DEP. The plan includes over 300 new trees and 3,000 new shrubs, approximately 75 trees removed. The stormwater treatment design was enhanced to provide minimal change to natural runoff patterns and peak runoff volume. The design exceeds the guidelines for pollutant removal and water quality treatment. We're providing habitats for owls, bats, and other birds. There's a series of houses that were incorporated into the plan. We did do a wildlife study that was part of that application, and that's included in the submittal as well. Again, we had three separate consultants that did. The application includes 81 acres of open space that will be protected in perpetuity. And a portion of this is a high value parcel that could be developed in its own right. This is just my conclusion, and I took this is directly from the plan of conservation and development. That's what the areas with the squares are. And these were 6 goals for the future of Monroe that were identified in that plan. And one is economic development. And as I stated in this report multiple times, the Quarry Ridge development will bring in millions of dollars in tax revenue to the town. So they'll be in the form of not only property taxes from development, but also in the form of demand from local businesses. Square 2 in orange is housing. The homes at Quarry Ridge will be a community like no other in Monroe. It will provide a maintenance-free lifestyle along with the privacy of a detached home. Quarry Ridge will also help the current shortage of single-family homes. As you all know, there's a shortage of homes now. Purple is facilities and services. Quarry Ridge will add a public water service through the parts of Monroe that are not currently served. The internal infrastructure will be privately owned and maintained, therefore the impact of existing town resources will be limited. Meaning that the roadways, any of the internal infrastructure is not going to have to be maintained by the town. That's facilities, and this is transportation and infrastructure. So I just say it here. And environmental resources. Quarry Ridge includes 81 acres of protected open space that will be preserved in perpetuity. And again, that's the same thing that I just touched on. So I just wanted to point out that these are our 6 goals that are directly listed in the plan of conservation and development, and we check all the boxes there.
Yeah, just come in here. I'm going to ask Nick to come back up again. One thing I don't know if it was clear from the presentation, but wanted to be clear is about Turkey Roost Road and its capacity to handle this traffic, which Nick did an analysis of Turkey Roost. So I just wanted him to come up and sure. Huh?
Okay, so presently
You want to slide?
presently the roadway traffic on the roadway per day is 997 vehicles both directions. And our project is more or less gonna add about 930 vehicles per day to that. Literally like doubling the traffic. It's good to mention that based on the Transportation Research Board's TRE sponsored higher capacity manual, the capacity for a two-lane roadways is 1,700 passenger cars per hour on each direction, with a maximum of 3,200 passenger cars on both directions. So this is like, we are way below capacity on this roadway. Our hourly on a peak hours, when we did the counts, are generally, I think they're, if I remember correctly, sorry, man. Yeah, during the morning peak hour, it's 110 vehicles per hour on both directions. Makes no sense. And evening is 103 total for both directions. Usually it's in a morning is 60% going on southbound, like 60 vehicles going southbound, 40 vehicles going northbound. We are basically gonna double that, but if you look at it on a picture, we're talking about 60 vehicles per hour. That's 1 vehicle per minute. So we're just gonna change that to 2 vehicles per minute. It takes a long time. Basically, the place is empty. So that's why it's really not impacting. It is kind of scary to see the existing volumes doubled, but it's way below the capacity.
The other thing I would just again say is that that's with the total number of units, and the analysis of the total number of units. Again, that is going to come in over phases over years, so it's going to be absorbed, absorbed. With that, I think we're concluded as far as our experts. I know this is getting carried over to another hearing, but Chair, I don't know if you want to go to question for our experts, but we do have everybody to answer.
Yeah, we're gonna start with comments by Planning Administrator Kathleen Gallagher and Attorney Andres. Then we'll go to the commissioners for questions, and then finally public participation. So let's start with Kathleen Gallagher for comments.
So the project history for the site, as was alluded to, there was a special exception permit that was granted in September of 2003 for 90 detached multifamily dwelling units located on a single commonly held lot, of which 80% are required to be occupancy by at least 155 years old or older resident. So the original 2003 project was actually for a 55 plus community. The project was located in what was then a design residential district. The parcel was changed to the multifamily residential district in 23 when the town approved zoning regulations for the entire town. So it was on every single zone area was changed and renamed and redefined at that time. That project was initially proposed with 100 detached units, but was reduced down to 90 units during the application process. The project received construction authorization from the Planning and Zoning Commission in November 2010. So it was a unique project, and the commission should be aware, and this is something they should consider if they would choose to approve the project to include in the resolution for this, that they had a condition that before the commencement of the project or each project section, if applicable, the permittee shall prepare and submit final construction plans to the town's engineer for their approval and recommendation to the commission. Upon completion of review of the recommendations and incorporating such modifications as may be deemed necessary, the commission will issue a formal construction authorization. So it's a little different than what our normal process, which is after they get granted the special exception permit, those plans come to planning and zoning review it for compliance, for conditions of the approval, and then it goes out. This condition of the approval actually brought it back to the Planning and Zoning Commission for your authorization for approval of construction prior to proceeding in the permitting process. The 2003 Quarry Ridge project included 100 total acres, so it was really just the 201 Turkey Roost project. Through lot line revisions, the current proposed project will acquire additional land, and it creates that lot to be 147 acres. We have a couple requests from the applicant in relation to those comments. The applicant has stated in pre-application meetings that the general design is similar to what was proposed in 2003. The applicant should provide a figure to show where the additional 9 units are located on the site plan. So where we went from the approved 90 to 99, I think the commission would just like to know where that expansion had happened. The applicant should clarify if they're proposing a zone boundary change. I believe that they are not. If they are not proposing a zone boundary change, what we're creating is a split zone lot. So it's one lot that includes both the RF2 district and the MFR district. If the zone boundaries are to be as they're shown, again, we're just asking a figure to overlay the proposed improvements on top of the zone boundaries so that the commission has an understanding of really where that work is being done. The zoning regulations points out that basically the bulk zoning requirements need to apply to the zone. So they had stated that they are meeting the open space requirement within the MFR district and then providing additional open space. That's because they need to comply with the regulations within that zone, even though they're expanding the lot. I will be providing an additional, more detailed comment letter moving forward, but from this perspective, we just wanted to do a high-level overview. We have circulated the application to the application review team. The town engineer has reviewed and issued his initial comment letter, which was Exhibit 2. The applicant has submitted a response to his comments on 1-8, and the town engineer will continue to review that. I just issued a planning zoning administrator report. However, a site plan review and more thorough details forthcoming. The fire marshal has reviewed and issued his comment letter as Exhibit 8, which I'm happy to go through the exhibits and what is being communicated. We are still receiving comment from the police chief. That review is pending. The health department has reviewed and issued their comment memo, which is Exhibit 2. And then we have, the town has retained both outside legal counsel, traffic, and an impact analysis for a peer review, as we understand the importance of understanding the traffic and economic impact to the town. And I'll let Chuck respond a little bit more to those items. However, I just want to quickly go through the exhibits and what they're communicating in these documents. The health department is basically just stating what has already been said, which the sewage system has flows exceeding 7,500 gallons per day, and therefore they will be receiving a permitting from Connecticut Deep. We do have a comment letter by the town engineer. He goes through several items, including sidewalks and other issues that the applicant is responding to. And that's something that we can talk a little bit more when we go into more in-depth detail. The Conservation and Water Resource Commission talks about the plants that are being used, requesting to only plant natives, not the use of cultivars, providing a final list of plants, not just what is typically stated, which they are not doing individual planting plans, but a lot of typically items, and to increase the variety of plants in the basin. They have a much more detailed explanation in their document if anybody is interested in additional information. We also have a letter from Trout Unlimited. They did request this that this actually get read into the record verbally. So I just ask everybody to be patient with us, as I would like to read their letter into the record. I'm writing to the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding the proposed development, SEP 2023-11, file number 16598, Quarry Ridge on Turkey Roost Road, 139, 141, and 201 in Cobbler's Hill Court. My name is Rich Rosen. I'm president of the Nutmeg chapter of Trout Unlimited and wanted to express our thoughts regarding the proposed project and the impact we believe it will have on the watercourse adjacent to the project, specifically Smith Pond Brook, Coppermine Brook, and the Halfway River. Coppermine Brook is a tributary to the Halfway River. The Nutmeg chapter is a local chapter of Trout Unlimited, a national organization whose mission is to conserve, protect, and restore cold water fisheries and their watersheds. We have an active group of 250 plus members and volunteers from Monroe and the surrounding towns. Trout Unlimited works to improve, protect, and restore the rivers and streams in our area. Copper Mine Brook is home to native brook trout, and the Halfway River have both native trout and wild brown trout, both of which are self-sustaining populations. It is our fear that any adverse effects from the Quarry Ridge development will have devastating effects on the river system downstream. Our concerns are many and include thermal effects of summer thunderstorms falling on extremely hot parking surfaces can significantly raise water temperatures to lethal levels for fish and aquatic insects in a matter of minutes. The potential for contaminated runoff during all seasons, which could include sand, road oils, and salt chemicals used during winter for snow removal. Overall impact and negative effects on the health of Copper Mine Brook and the Halfway River below the project. Ongoing monitoring of the site during construction for erosion, silt control, and other man-made or created issues. The brooks and rivers in the area of development are part of a very sensitive ecosystem. Our major concerns are downstream temperature spikes, nitrate levels becoming elevated from the possible influx coming from the project, and ongoing silt erosion problems from the impervious parking areas going forward. It is our hope that if the project is approved, that developers will mitigate the effects on the environment and consider the following in their planning. Leave the vegetative buffer along Copper Mine Brook, utilize LID concepts in project design. Low impact development is approach to environmentally friendly land use development and includes landscaping and techniques that attempt to maintain the natural pre-developed ability of the site to manage rainfall. Install pervious versus impervious pavement for the parking area. This can be accomplished with concrete or pervious asphalt, which will allow for additional rainwater and snow melt to seep into the ground instead of causing runoff. In closing, Trout Unlimited hopes that the Planning and Zoning Commission take into account these considerations to ensure the watercourse adjacent to the project is fully protected to allow for the best water quality possible. This will ensure that the wild and native trout populations have the best possible chance for continued self-sustaining populations. If possible, I would like to be informed of the developer's plan to protect the environment and the resident of wild and native fish population. And at this point, I would like to ask council to ask any questions or provide any comments related to their review and what they've heard tonight.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Kathleen. Chuck Andrus, attorney for the commission. I have about 6 questions that I'll direct to the applicant. Understand the hearing is going to be continued. I don't expect you to answer these this evening, but you'll have time hopefully before the next public hearing so we can review and have time to respond. So I'll just kind of run through these, and this is a result of just my initial review of the plan. One just is a historical question, and I think Kathleen mentioned about the earlier application that was approved by this commission. Sounds like the same developer has been with this since 2002 and involved in the cleanup and so forth. One of the things she mentioned is that in 2013, the commission changed the regulations from, I believe it was DR, and it went to MFR. And frankly, I don't know if we've been able to uncover why we, if there are any specific changes in the regulations other than the nomination, the name of it was simply called it a different name. Were there substantively different? Were there any changes that were intended to address something that was on the site or anything like that? Just to help us get a little better background as to what went on. And I'm assuming, since you guys own the property and you had an active thing, you probably were aware of that. So I would love to get your perspective on that. So that was number one. Most of the other questions have to do with this issue of the split zone lot, because I think, as Kathleen mentioned, the site plan you're dealing with a zone, a property that is in 2 zones, both the MFR and the RF2. And it's complicated because you're doing a series of lot line revisions. You're changing the existing lots and reducing some and merging a lot. So it is difficult to figure out where the exact zoning lines are, all this. And I think I understand you're going to have that on a site plan. I think it's on the survey. You see it there, but that you can't really see where the units are and so forth. So if you could overlay that on one of the survey, I think Kathleen mentioned that. And the reason that's important, again, is because of section 1.93, which basically says that the regulations in a split zone lot, each portion of the lot has to conform with the zoning regulations where that portion is situated. So the MFR portion, the stuff that goes on in there complies with the MFR zone, the RF2, the stuff's it's got to comply with the RF2 zone. And so that kind of generated some of my other questions in looking at this. When I looked at the open space sheet, it's OS1. If you can take a look at that, I think there's a little narrative up at the top. It says that 50% of the zone has to be open space. And you said that the MFR was 99 acres, which I think is basically that parcel. And that you had 50%, which, just 50%. So there wasn't much margin. I know I'm not including the other stuff because they're not in the other MFR zone. So it was 49.5 acres. But when I looked at the hatched areas, I thought that it includes some of the land that was zoned MFR. So if you look down at the bottom right, so what I'm saying that you may have included that because there's a couple of parcels that are not zoned MFR. So take a look at that. And if you think some changes are needed, please make that so, because that has to do with the calculation and conforms with that. You mentioned the coverage was at 4%. And the question I have, that's on a zoning table, I think on one of the sheets. But is that 4% based on the 154 acres or again, a 4% based on just the 99 acres? And if there's a revision, just clarify that if you could. The next had to do with the wastewater treatment system. As I looked at the map, it looked like the plant was in the MFR zone, but that much of the leaching field structures are in the RF2 district. So that I think it's shown in a number of the plans that they are on there. So again, looking at section 1.93, that's the one that says, with the split zone lot that the uses that go on in that portion have to conform with that portion. That would mean that the leaching fields in the RF2 district, which are basically accessory to the multifamily use, are conforming with the RF2 district, if I have that correctly. So that's my question is, how does that comply without a zone change? And I'm not, and again, I'm not asking for an answer now, but I want you to review that and provide something in writing that I could look at to review. And I'm going to mention one case that I came up with, which I saw that looked, it's called Solichinu versus Grossback. The site is 208 Con 312. That was a case where there was an underground septic system for commercial property. Well, it was located on a residential lot, and they said that you can't do that. So I know this is different. It's all one lot, but it's differently zoned in the lot. Anyway, that's in my head. You want to address, take a look at that. That's what I'm trying to do, is give you the benefit of my thoughts so you can address them.
Right.
So, and then the last question was an issue. Again, it was 3.49. This is the one. It says that not more than 20 dwelling units or more than 40 off-street parking spaces will be permitted on a private dead-end street or driveway on the lot. So that says that there's my question is this a dead-end street? That would be the question, because if it is, you can't have more than 40 units. Now, what I understand, here's my understanding, that it is, when I think of dead end, what's a dead end? It's one way in, one way out. And there's one major way in and one major way out of this one. Even though you have a loop about it, does a loop take the dead endness out of it? And I know also there is an emergency access, and maybe that takes it out of it. But anyway, I want you to review that. If you could, give me authority as to support your claim that this would not apply, so I can take a look at that. So those are the questions I had as a result of just looking at the application. So thank you.
And both for the,
Attorney Andres, can you just go over our plans for outside review for the traffic and economic study?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. Again, our plans are, we've hired a peer review firm, BL Companies. You probably, they're a well-respected, they have their own traffic consultants there. They're we've used them for many years, and the town has used them. So they're going to do the traffic and also the economic input, economic analysis, reviewing Mr. Gazowski's Realty Concepts report. That's probably going to be farmed out to RKG Associates, who works with BL a lot of times. So they're going to review that. The expectation is, I think we're planning on continuing this hearing to I think we picked possibly March 12th as a date. But the idea is to have a substantial gap to allow the consultants to get out there, to do the field work, to get some reports in, and perhaps exchange of information, so we're not all last minute information, but to get that done. But those have, I believe the council tentatively approved those. There's a process in the regulations for, the applicant will be paying for those. So, but those are the two that we've gotten to look at, the two expert reports provided by the applicant. And that, that work will be going on, we expect to within the next month, and hopefully get some, get it in and get some possibly results. So we can move things along.
Thank you very much. I've received a request from the commissioners for a 5-minute recess. So at this point, we'll be in recess. It's 8:45 approximately now until 8:50. Thank you.
All right, guys.
Hey, Mike, we're good to go.
Okay, let's get back into session. It is 8:50. The next portion of the hearing will be commissioners' questions. And we will start with Commissioner Lupo.
One slot. Yeah, not one slot. All right. So thank you for those that presented and thanks for the public that came out. A lot of my questions I think are going to be answered with the additional representation we're going to have that attorney spoke about, but I do want to just mention some of my other questions and concerns. One thing I'm concerned about is I know we're going to get this in the traffic study, but what is the financial impact going to be on maintaining turkey roost? I'm hearing that actually within the complex, they're going to take care of themselves, but is water currently brought down turkey roost, or are they going to be installing water all the way down turkey roost? And what is that going to cost the town? What is that going to do with keeping that road updated with the additional supposed 900 cars on top of what's already there? So that's one comment question I have for the town or for the consultant. My other question is in regards to the emergency access road. Is there anywhere else to put it out to another road, whether it be, and I have to look at the map better, but I've seen Pinto Lane put on, I know residents of those roads won't be happy with me, but as an emergency road out, God forbid there's a fire in here or a fire on Turkey Roost. I just worry about all those cars trying to get out through two entrances only. So is there any opportunity for a fire road to be someplace else? And as part of the traffic study, it says that if that driveway was needed, to appropriate traffic control and temporary guidance would be provided. I don't know what that means. Does that mean somebody would have to open a gate for people to get out of that road? I'm just want some more information on that emergency exit. Bear with me. I can't write with my hand, so my own handwriting right now is reckless.
You didn't see Rob's.
So Bill could probably get my handwriting. All right, so I have a lot of questions regarding the educational impact and the school impact. I have children in the school system, both school aged. I'm on PTOs for multiple schools. 64 school aged children, even if within 2 years we're at, what's the word you used? Absorption, whatever it was, yeah. I just have a very tough time seeing Great Oak, seeing other developments in town, believing that it's only going to be 64 school-aged children. Especially if we have young couples moving into here as their first home. They might not be school-aged yet, but really quick, they're going to be school-aged. And I'd like some information from the Board of Ed, if we can obtain it. They're saying it's $18,515 to each child. That's at 64 kids. That brings us right under about 1.15, which is just under the 2.1 million they're saying the town is going to get from this project. If we go up to 2 kids per house, which is what I see a lot of in other areas of town, we're at $3.7 million, which is way over the 2.1 that they're going to supposedly give back to the town. And if any of those children have 504s, IEPs, any sort of special education, that number is going to be exorbitantly higher. I do know the town is doing a look to see what we could do in terms of Fawn Hollow especially. I think all schools, from what I understand, are at capacity, and I don't even know where you would put 4 more teachers or 4 more classrooms. So that's a huge concern of mine, is the cost, the real cost to the town. Hold on, I have notes everywhere. Bear with me. That might be it for now, because I don't want to I know we're going to get a lot of those questions answered, but those are my main ones for right now. But I reserve the right to think of another one, guys. Sorry.
Good job.
All right, some of my comments and questions echo some of what's been said here tonight. The traffic not having any impact on the area of the road. It is a cut through road, as some of us that go on it daily realize, and there's also a bad intersection at the end, Van Hill, Elm Street, and Turkey Roost where they intersect.
Now, I don't know if the metric that comprises information took into consideration the type of road that Turkey Roost is. There's several twists, there's blind spots, there's hills, there's dips, and the topography kind of undulates. So it's sometimes tough to see what's coming around the corner. So that may differ from what a typical study would convey with a traffic report. So that I definitely want to kind of firm up a little bit. And what is the estimated price point per square foot on these homes? Selling price? Just under 800. 800,000. Yeah, for the record, it's just under 800. Okay. And what type of amenities are being planned for this project that will be provided to the applicants? There's a clubhouse proposed and a swimming pool as well. How many units be affordable? None. Now, getting into a little bit more of the technicals here, this treatment system, hopefully somebody can speak to the technical side of this. Specifically, how does this work? What will the byproduct be? I mean, in order to create potable water, there's something going on within the system. How does this specifically work? What byproducts are expected from this, and what can we expect? Is there any odor? What type of operation does it work from?
I'm gonna have to stay if someone wants to speak to it. Yeah. That's it.
Good evening, my name is Dave Bjorklund, a professional engineer registered in the state of Connecticut. I'm one of the engineers on the team. The treatment system is something that's been around for a long time. And basically, the wastewater is collected in a typical sewer system. It's then transported to the treatment plant. It is then introduced to tanks in which settlement takes place, just like settlement takes place in your home septic system tank. Then it is aerated, which is the same process that is used in a municipal treatment plant. It's called activated sludge. And then in this case, it's transferred to a series of cassettes that have rotating what we call biological contact. And there's a microorganism that grows on these revolving cassettes. And then the wastewater is passed through them, again, aerated. And the wastewater, the waste in the wastewater is then, I'll use a common word, it's eaten by the biology that's on these rotating discs. Then it goes to another settlement chamber. The sludge is then taken off, separated from the water, and then the water is transferred out to the leaching galleries.
Are these cassettes exposed?
No, this is all located within the building and underground in the building in these covered tanks.
Typically no odor?
No, I've been around several of these units. There's one that I've been around a lot in the last 2 years. In order to get an odor, you have to enter the building. And when you enter the building, it's not the odor of anaerobic sewage, it's aerobic. It's a musty smell, but you can't smell it outside of it.
Okay. Thank you. And then getting to the counts as far as the school age children, I'm having trouble getting my mind around the 64 children also. And the reason for that is you're stated that these are going to be 4-bedroom units, roughly 400 bedrooms. So people that are going to be buying these homes are going to be basically 65% of these new buyers of these 4-bedroom homes, will have children. So there's going to be between the 64 children and the parent or parents, another 100 bedrooms, there's going to be 250 unoccupied bedrooms.
It doesn't sound realistic. That's the only reason. Again, I don't know how this number, what compiles this number, but it just, to me, it doesn't sound realistic. I think if you're buying a 4-bedroom home, you probably have children for the most part, and in some cases more than one. So I'm not on board with 64 school age kids. And other than that, that's all I have.
I have a bunch of questions. We'll start with the school kids and I'll make it really quick. When we decided to go with apartments, we talked about 1 and 2 bedrooms, how it barely impacted our school systems because of the amount of kids. And when you do a national study, the 1 and 2 bedrooms generally do not impact your school system. But when you got to 3 and 4, they grossly impacted your school system. I have a hard time believing a young family coming in spending $800,000 is going to have 1 kid. That's just me. I'm only one commissioner. I think with 4 bedrooms, most of these families are going to have 2 kids, maybe have an office because some of them work from home. That's just going through my head. And the other issue is Monroe does an amazing job with education. Between myself and my brother, we put 5 kids through our school system, and they've all gone to very high-end colleges. They're doing exceptional, and very proud of the way Monroe is with our education. I'm even more proud of how Monroe handles our children with special needs. They do an amazing job, amazing. And anyone that has a child with a need, Monroe takes care of. So in my head, I'm assuming at least 1, maybe 2, maybe more, maybe none, are going to have a need that the town is going to take care of because they do an amazing job with that. And for someone to come in here and say that we're going to have 64 kids and it's only going to be 1.1 million, to me, it just doesn't work. But we'll have studies done to take care of that. Mr. Bjorklund, you talked about the sludge at the very end. Where does that go? Does that get pumped out? Does a truck come and take it away? That's just, I don't know. So I'm just, does it disappear? Like, I don't know what happens to it.
David York, it's transported off-site, just like the sludge from your septic tank.
Oh, so it's like somebody comes, so you have like, in layman's terms, because I know nothing about the business, all the septic goes into one tank, a septic truck comes, pumps it out, and it's gone, but the wastewater is going somewhere else on the property.
Into a traditional leaching field, just like what you have in your backyard.
Okay, thank you. The traffic study, again, Rob's 100% correct. Maybe those are numbers on a regular road, but if anyone in this town has been on Turkey Roost, that is not a regular road. There's nothing regular about Turkey Roost. Okay, and that's enough said about Turkey Roost. There's the traffic impact is going to be greater. Like, even it's scary now. And now imagine doubling what's going on there. Please do not clap. Thank you. Please do not clap. In your trip generation, have we looked into buses, service vehicles? I'm assuming there's going to be a garbage truck, all that kind of stuff. So when we do ours, I guess we'll get those answers as well. Affordable housing, it's something that Monroe has strived to add. I think it's something we need to look into with this project. When we approve some of the apartments in town, they've all done their 10% to help increase those numbers. I'm for affordable housing. And to be clear, affordable housing in Monroe is very different than affordable housing in many other towns in this state. So I think that's something you guys should look into and help us with. Is this going to be well water, or are they you have city water? I'm concerned about the import and export of materials. I know you say it's minimal, but you did notate a couple spots that may have blasting. I'm a little nervous about blasting, to be honest with you. This property's already been through hell. I don't know if it needs to go through a little bit more hell. Once you put crushers on site and that kind of stuff, to me, that tells me we're taking materials off for resale. That's just me, again, just me speaking. So I don't know, I got to think about that a little bit better. And then we say it's going to raise millions of dollars in revenue for the town. So far in my head, I'm at a negative. I don't know where we get this millions of revenue for the town. Now, are you telling me that once it's all built, everyone's going to eat out and help Stop and Shop, Big Y, Aldi's, et cetera? And that's what you mean? Help our gas stations and local businesses? That could be possible. But I don't know about making millions on that. The phase process, you guys said you talked about that. Last thing I already went over. The rain garden you talked about, is that a rain garden that we talk about for example, where the Chipotle is? When you have your structure and then that water goes into rain garden, that's a pond that I feel sometimes we could fish out of. Is that what you guys talking about? Or are you guys talking about something different? Can you explain that to me, please? Because I just don't understand.
Yeah, I guess that's essentially what we're talking. It's sort of a wet bottom pond, but it's not wet all the time. It would
Right, so it's gonna have some sort of drainage.
Yeah,
It's gonna, it fills up, it drains, it fills up, it drains.
And it's got a certain specification for plantings in it that make it qualify.
And we're not concerned about the runoff of all these homes and all that kind of stuff getting put into this area, that it's not gonna overflow and damage our roads and all that kind of stuff?
We've looked into that extensively with the town engineer. We're comfortable with the drainage.
All right. Last but not least, because I'm sure you're all tired of me talking. You said there's a 4-acre parcel that you're gonna leave. Correct? Leave it for what? What are you doing with it?
So right
Are we
now,
giving it to somebody?
no, the property, the property currently has an issue where in that area, because there's no development over there, that people go from that road to hunt and motorbikes. So we've had some people trespassing to the property. If we leave that 4-acre parcel and we put a single family house on it, we think we could better protect from somebody doing that. So we would accept as a condition of approval that parcel be restricted to a single family. So you don't have to worry about, here's a fair before.
So the project is 100 homes potentially, not 99?
Well, and the Cobbler's Court, which is not in the MFR, there would be.
And that'd be the only house you're adding to Cobbler's Court?
Yes, but that's what we're saying is we would restrict it to a single family. So you would know, we wouldn't come back and say, oh, by the way, we want to do more than one there. But that's the purpose of it.
But you're not planning to build that as part of this?
No, it's not a part of the.
They would have to come back for a separate application to build the single family home. It would be done.
That'd be done in staff though, anyway.
Yeah, that's, I mean, that's
not with us.
But yes, but I'm just saying it's not part of this scope of work.
But I think the approval would cover the property. So if it was a condition of approval, it would still apply to that property. So, we couldn't come back for the single family and say, oh, well, that doesn't apply to us. This approval would cover that.
Okay.
4-acre parcel.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm all set.
Okay, I don't know if I'm gonna put this question probably to the engineer, but anyway, Turkey Roost is a horrible road. Sightline issues, all sorts of things. Have you guys done a roadway safety audit from Turkey Roost Road from Hammertown to Fan Hill? Have you done any of that?
We did. We did crash reports for,
I'm so sorry. Can you not speak until you go to the mic just because of recording purposes?
we did crash reports for the past 5 years.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about,
I understand what
have you done that?
we haven't done
So you haven't done a safety audit?
we haven't done a safety audit.
That's a horrible road. It's a horrible road. It has a lot of sightline issues. And we need to probably have that study done for this commission.
For sure.
So I don't know if we hire somebody to do that or,
We can talk to them and see if that's something they can include in their scope.
okay. So the other question I have is that since 2020, now that we're into 2024, with the school children are now a lot of school children. I don't know if his calculations for school children, for how much it's going to be for school children, but now a lot of these school children need special needs. Was that considered? I mean, we know that this trend's going on. And so I would like to know. We both just asked that. No, but I want to know if he did. He didn't probably not. He didn't.
Stan Yazdowski Realty Concepts. If you look at my report, let me show you, tell you.
He did, but I didn't see.
There is a,
There's no way at 18,500.
that letter the addendum that I just presented to you tonight, the very last page,
Oh, I didn't get to see that.
okay? Look at the very last page. That is a summary. If you look at the top, column A, it has general education, assistants, special ed teachers, instructional assistants, district office, school level administration, library, media, staff, institutional specialists, social workers and psychologists, nurses, non-institutional staff, and total staff. In that average, what happens is the state of Connecticut produces as of October 1st, data as of October 1st every year of the preceding school year. And that's where this comes from. So I go by the data that's provided by the Connecticut Department of Education. And if you look it up, you could go there yourself. It's called Insights. And if you look under the school districts, you could get this information. It's readily available. So this is a compilation of all the data for 7 years, okay? And to answer your question that you had, was that, yes, this included special ed teachers. It's an average, that's an average cost spread amongst all the teachers and all the support staff that they need to teach the children. If you're looking for
So
specific,
in your 64 kids, you're including kids with special needs?
could be, yes.
It's either could be or it could be yes.
They could be.
How many?
I don't know.
So I don't have a number if you don't know.
Well, when I talked to Mr. Kotzer, your superintendent, he gave me some data that is being developed right now. I could go back, I could ask him how many special ed children, but it's included in that number. If you look at that last page of that addendum that I sent you, all that data is there. And that's an average inclusive of regular school age children and special ed teachers. That's the average cost.
Did you ask the superintendent the increase in special needs to students since 2020
I have the data here.
from our?
Yeah, I talked directly to Mr. Kotzer.
And he said that he didn't give you an increased amount of special ed students? Were you asked that?
No, I didn't ask that question specifically, but I will ask him that question.
I'd like to get that information for the next meeting.
Yeah, but if you look at that sheet, which is the updated page 96.
Yeah, I see the sheet.
There's currently, let's see, special ed teachers, there's 39, almost 40 special ed teachers, which was a increase above 35 from the prior year. If you look at 2021-22, there were 35. For 2022-23, it's gone to 39.7. That is there. You have it already.
Does that include the cost of kids that have to be bused out or driven out or, I know kids that have to go to school in other areas.
Yeah.
Sorry, Leanne. I just
Let me re-verify that. Don't give me that opportunity. I don't want to give you the wrong information.
Sorry, Leanne.
Thank you.
Okay? Does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, so you're going to get me that information.
Yeah, I'll get that information.
And then maybe we can reach out to the superintendent ourselves.
Yeah, he's been very cooperative. I have to.
He's a great man.
Yeah, nice guy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. So about the audit, you guys are going to do the audit?
We'll talk with our traffic consultants.
But I think we need to do the road safety audit. Will this become some kind of agreement?
I think we're gonna ask
We're gonna ask our IT to
We'll
do it.
discuss it.
All right. Like school bus pickup, gonna be on the street? So,
I can't go back.
I think they can come up, so I think it would be down on Turkey. If I remember,
yeah,
if I remember from previous applications. We'll verify that. Sorry,
the width of the road,
with the,
Pull the plan, I think it's with the new road.
no, the width.
Turkey Roost there.
At that point, they're widening it right there. So there is a plan I can show you. I don't know what the total width is, but it's got a bypass lane, so it's got to be close to 30+ feet wide there.
You're not gonna have any, the school buses are not going to go into that.
Can't, I'll be good.
Can't go in.
But it's-
If they can.
Okay.
They're allowed to.
Right,
Yeah.
Okay.
We built that over on Main Street.
Yeah.
Into the site.
yeah. All right, let's go into the blasting. How much material you think you're gonna have to blast?
It's in the course of the record. I mean, I don't know that we have that specific number in the record here. I mean,
You should be able to calculate that out, no?
yeah, no, I have it. I just don't know if I have it with me. Can you provide it?
Need the password.
You could provide it next meeting, I guess.
Give me 1 minute to pull up that slide. It's on the plan sheet. Anyway, sorry. Apologies. Do you want me to get back to you on it, or do you want to?
Yeah, well, get back to me on it. Now, the other question, well, no, hang on for a minute. Hold your horses. How do you plan on, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with the material?
The material is going to be brushed on site and used on site, as you know, I assume most of it will be, if not all of it, will be used on site for road construction, for, variety.
We're sure of that, or we're not sure of that?
We're sure that's,
You're not gonna export no material off that site?
there's no plans to export any material off.
Okay. And you wanna crush it on site?
Yes. That's part of the application.
Okay. So you're gonna have to come up with, let me know how much material you plan on doing.
Yeah, I can.
Because, I mean, I want this to get into a floodplain operation over there and term operation. Well, I know, I understand that, but that's not a lot of people's plan and ends up being the plan. So you're gonna have to come up with some kind of numbers.
Yeah, I'll get you more detail.
Okay. That's all I have for now.
So for the bus stopping on Turkey Roost, that probably means you're gonna have a row of cars sitting on Trout Pond Road, waiting to drop kids off, especially during the winter time. So you might want to look at whether there's a way for cars to bypass, because I don't see during the winter, kids walking from all these houses down to this corner for the bus. Their parents are going to drive and sit there. Who with EMS did you reach out to for your study?
The director?
Maybe just into the mic.
You gotta come up to the mic.
Do you have a name? Do you have a name?
Yeah, let me get it for you.
Look in the file, just give me a minute if you would. It's not in this file, it's in the file back at the office, and I'll get you the name. I got the dates and time that I called them. It's probably, I'm just looking for a place. It's probably in my office, but I can give you the name, but have the email, so I didn't bring them with me.
Okay.
Yeah, I sent emails out to the EMS, police chief, to, fire marshal. He responded, I have his letter, and to the school board. And, the EMS just didn't respond, and I called and left a message a couple times.
Yeah, I'd like to know the name, just there's been.
Yeah, I'll get the name for you. I thought I had it with me, but I don't. Any other questions with me while I'm up here?
No, thank you. And then I just want to kind of know about the emergency access. I know Commissioner Lupo had mentioned, is that what makes it emergency access? Is it going to be gated? Is it not going to be paved? And then if an emergency does happen, who is going to be accessing the gate? Or do you provide everyone with a key?
I mean, we work with Jason Edwards for the record. We work with the fire department and the EMS to figure out what exactly they want to do at the gate. I don't think we've planned it that far yet, but we've worked with the gate there. It's to be repaved, and it's currently a passable driveway, so it's travel, vehicle to travel. But it's not something that we would want to use for out of the facility, but for emergency.
And then for the clubhouse and the stormwater treatment plant, are those staffed?
There's gonna be some, it's a good question. We're gonna need staff. No, I don't.
I actually wrote that down, but I don't know. I wrote it down.
That's not a man facility, so it would be maintained on that as on a quarterly basis or a monthly basis. Someone would have a monitoring schedule that may get a lot of, but nobody would be full time there.
And then again, just to echo the students, I mean, it looks like the house designs are 4 bedrooms with 3 full baths. So I got to assume there's going to be more than 2 people living in those houses. So, we'll have our independent study, but it's definitely looks like there's probably going to be a lot of people living in those houses. So that's it for now. Excited to hear from the public. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Just to add to the EMS situation, so as someone that lives near the new building, there's already quite a bit of emergencies and ambulances driving around with the sirens. This is going to add to it, certainly. But in regards to the phases, how long will the first phase take to build is it 29 or 20 units in phase 1?
I think for the first initial phase, I think it's 29 units and we're anticipating 24 months.
So in 2 years, you're going to build 29 units. What type?
And obviously a lot of the site improvements that don't get that much at least.
But what type of workforce are we talking here? Like how many workers are you going to have at this site building at one time?
You have to look at getting, I guess, estimates of those numbers. Not something we have at
And when we're talking about this open space, and you said there's certain areas that you're committed to not building on, is that ironclad, or could you change your mind in the future?
No, I think it would be a condition of approval that it would be conserved in perpetuity. Commission would like, we could probably make a draft conservation easement, maybe something like that to submit in, just so you could see broad framework of the easement.
Well, generally when they give open space, that's it. Like,
So it would be donated to the town?
No, it would remain as part of the property, but it would be conserved in perpetuity. It wouldn't matter if you transferred it 500 times. It'd run with the land.
Okay. And talking about the school situation, I know you briefly mentioned it, but I mean, major expense would be adding classrooms or basically adding a school. just as an example, to renovate Chalk Hill Middle School is going to be approximately $12 million. So any revenue as they're putting in is just, not going to really do anything. And then my last question would be for the sewage treatment plant. Is that gravity fed or does it require pumps, electricity?
Gravity fed.
I'm 99% sure on this answer, so I reserve the right to change this, but it's gravity fed to the plant, and then from the plant, it is pumped out, I believe, to all the different leaching fields from there. It is definitely pumped out from there. So yes, it's gravity fed down to there, and there's a pumping station that goes out.
So will there be an emergency generator?
Yeah.
It's power outage?
Yeah, that's required. Yeah.
And what type of fuel does that generator use?
I don't think we've established that yet. That would be most likely propane or I don't know if there's natural gas. Yeah, if there's natural gas, we use that.
Look at Tom bombing questions. I loved it.
I guess the last quick question, you said you're going to be planting a lot of trees. How old are these trees you'll be planting? How tall?
I'd have to look at the landscape plan. Our landscape architect's not here, but he can answer that question at the next meeting.
There is a tree size standard in the regulations that will be reviewed when we do a more detailed plan. Shade trees are 3 to 3.5 inch caliper. I think ornamental trees are 2 to 2.5 inch caliper. So there are trees of the standard, and even the shade trees are of a substantial size for initial planting.
Oh, sorry. And I just had a question about, so basically the water line is going to be coming from Fan Hill and has to be run up to the project. Who is absorbing that cost?
That's the developer. The developer pay for that, yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's restoration of that. Exactly. The town engineer, a half pay votes.
And how long do you think that would take to?
There's a lot of variables there, but probably could be actual construction time. Yeah, it depends on a lot of variables. I wouldn't want to give you a false estimate. I would say 6 months to a year would probably be realistic.
That's a pretty big project. It's going to cause a lot of issues, especially with the schools over there. Also, along the way, will other residents be able to tap into that line?
They, I believe they can, yes, but the cost would be at their own.
The question of the town engineers during construction, are they going to preliminary stub out the line at each residence? Or will that be done afterwards? Because it's obviously easier to stub it out at the beginning and go through. That also changes the way the road would be repaved going back. So I do believe he had some of those questions and he would have to, the town engineer would have to respond to what that final conclusion.
And we took that question to Aquarian and they do not permit that. So
Okay.
If the person wanted to connect at the time they're installing the main, they can do that, but they do not permit the taps to be installed for future use.
Okay.
The way that I understood it.
Thank you.
Well, so
Nicole has a question and then Leon.
One more question about blasting. So I know we have different phases and I know there's maybe not blasting. Will the blasting be done all at once or will that be also done in the phases as you go through the property?
Jason Edwards, I would expect it to be done as we go through the phases. As we encounter an area that might be needed, there's really, it depends on when it's encountered. I wouldn't expect it to be all at once, though. I think it would be done through the phases. As you maybe hit a foundation that needs to have something blasted out that's deeper than we expect, then that could happen. It's not going to be a large scale effort to blast.
So over how many years will the neighbors have blasting potential, crushing potential? Could this be a 5-year endeavor for them? Listen, you have to.
The infrastructure should be constructed, I would think, within the first couple of years. Yeah. So that's where the real risk of any of that work would be. That processing is going to be done when the road is built out, and that should stop.
And I know the blasting is, it goes into our fire marshal who will, it's federally mandated and they have to, and obviously when we get to that point, if we get to that point, make sure neighbors are given seismographs, make sure people are given warnings. But so essentially, I guess in my head, you're gonna put up new houses and then blast next door? Just seems a little,
No, I mean, it would be anything near an existing home would obviously not be, or the new homes won't be blasted. So most of the blasting would be associated with the mass site work. So
Okay.
if that's all done, in one phase, then yes, it would all be done.
okay, so phase one, okay,
It's really gonna be mostly in the first phase.
that's all, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm part of doing the blasting and the, site work. Why did we not do site work at one time? Why would we, what areas have to be taken care of, right? You need to come up with the amount of material you think you're gonna have to blast.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, basically, there's a lot of ledge over there.
But if you
Know
want.
that for a fact.
We pull the plan sheet here.
I don't want this to turn into like, we're gonna do this. It's not gonna happen that way.
Give me 1 minute to find you right.
Thank you.
So this is sheet L3. And just to show you why we know, where we are going to have to blast and how we know that. This on the side here is test pits that were excavated. And then you can see that they're all over the site here and the results are here. And we logged as they were doing the site work to remediate and whatever mitigation, I guess, or whatever the word was, restoration. They dug dust holes, they were surveyed, and the depths were the ledge were established. So we have that all here in logs, so we know where that ledge depth
You'll
is.
be able to calculate how much material
Yes, when we
blast and how much material you're gonna process.
yeah, and we have on the side of this plan right
And
here,
then-
we have,
And then,
we're estimating a net cut of only 2,000 yards.
right, and then we need to know how much of that material you're gonna use on site, because you may not be using it all on site, how much you produce, you know what I mean? So in turn, you may be removing off site.
We'll give you a more detailed analysis. That's fine.
The other thing I have to ask you, on this wastewater treatment facility. So you say you're gonna have a generator there. What's it gonna be run by?
Do you believe it'll either be propane or natural gas? Natural gas.
Propane, you're gonna have to have propane delivered, right? And so what's to prevent how much can you contain in there if you lose electricity?
24-hour storage, yeah, that's what's required.
So you can only contain 24 hours.
That's what's in storage, yeah.
And who maintains that?
That would be the homeowners association.
I mean, like you have a person that maintains that, you have a
Yeah,
plan
yeah.
schedule, you have a schedule how that's maintained?
Yeah, yeah, it's very detailed. It's all part of the deep permit. Yeah, we have.
Do we have that?
We can provide it to you.
Well, I would like to see
Sure. We'll provide you everything.
that and how it's maintained and the person that maintains it.
I don't know if all that's established as far as the person that's maintained.
Somebody would have to be there.
We can also provide you with them.
Weekly, is it done, maintained weekly, monthly,
I'd have to check. I'm not sure.
alarms on the system?
They're quarterly monitored. So they're monitored quarterly by an engineer that designs for another firm that.
No, I
And then
understand.
pump maintenance is also done monthly. So it's specific to each site. So I have to check and see what.
And so all these people that are in this community, they contribute to the taking care of that facility.
Yes.
Condo complex.
Yeah, you're gonna see that.
And they're, and so,
They have a board, they're gonna have to have a board, they're gonna have to have all that stuff.
And just so you know, the new systems, they report out what's going on constantly.
Yeah, they're
So
connected.
there's telemetry. So they, even if they're not there physically going to look at it, they're getting data about what's going on at the plant.
all right, so there's basically nobody goes there to maintain it. It's just.
No, they said-
No, they do. No,
Electronically?
they do, but I'm just saying in addition to that.
Okay, so how do you know? So then, okay, so there's got to be alarms then.
Yeah, there's alarms and there's notifications that will go out.
Okay, that's all I have for now.
Mike, you're up.
Okay, we're going to move on to public participation. So there are some rules for public participation. I'd like to go over them. But anyone who is interested in participating will raise their hand either in person or online.
One at a time, one at a time.
Vice Chair Mayini will then recognize you. You'll come down to the microphone or speak or unmute your microphone if you're online. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And this is not a question and answer session. You are to address the commission. You can ask questions. Questions may be answered at the end of the public participation session. Do not address the applicant or any of the applicant's witnesses. Only one person at a time will speak. There'll be no cheering or clapping or any other noise from the audience, or the chambers will be cleared. Everyone should have a chance to speak as long as the rules are followed. So I'm going to turn it over to Vice Chairman Mayini.
Thanks, Mike. Come on up, name and, yep. Come on down. Name and address for the record, please.
Michael Ganino, 85 Millbrook Terrace.
Thank you.
My wife and I moved here about 22 years ago. Wonderful community. We've raised 3 kids. 2 are still in the school system. 1's in college. The education system here is second to none. I think this development program or development is good for the developers. It's good for the box turtles, and bats, and owls. I don't think that this is a good development for the school system. My wife's the school nurse at Fawn Hollow. When our kids were in school, there was 500 kids. There's 700 now. So the cost of the increase in the number of kids who will be attending Monroe schools, I think, is significantly understated. I'm not a construction person, I'm an accountant, so I'm a numbers guy. But I know 400 bedrooms, there's going to be more than 60 some odd kids. The number of cars, we're a family of 5, 3 kids. We have 5 cars. I think that the number of cars that will be introduced to the community, what everyone agrees is a dangerous road, is significantly understated. There's a host of other questions that I have, and I know that one of the slides said that there would be a 10-year rate where the taxes would be able to fund a renovation. Fawn Hollow's there already. I think that there's probably going to be some type of temporary classrooms. I think overall, if this were to move forward in the way that it's presented, it will have an overall net decrease in the quality of education, which will impact the entire town's property values, but it's going to impact the kids. None of my kids will be in the school system by the time this comes to fruition, but I do believe that it will have a negative impact on the town, the district, and the quality of life within Monroe.
Thank you, sir. Sir, come on up. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Ray Swensky, 96 Turkey Roost Road. So
Thank you, sir.
kind of near. First, I want to thank everybody because in your comments, you actually covered a lot of my thoughts about Turkey Roost. And do you know Turkey Roost? It's not Fan Hill, it's not Pepper Street. This is a very narrow, windy road that's very, very difficult. And when you talk about digging in pipelines, you're going to close the road. I mean, it's 2 lanes in some places and going around some of those curves. So for the 6 months or whatever, the road's going to be closed. It's going to be all muddy and it's going to be miserable for everybody. I don't know if they blast when they put in water lines, but a lot of the houses, especially up to Lynn Drive, are right on the road. And a lot of the wells are right in front. What happens if the well, has problems? Who's going to pay for that? I know litigation. Oh, it's your problem. That should really look at that. What about the studies for traffic? You talk about studies for Turkey Roost, which is already around, when you go up 111, everybody cuts through to get up to Dunkin' Donuts to cut the whole corner off. So Turkey Roost has that traffic. Now you're talking about these 99 cars, which will probably be about 300 or 400 going to have 2 or 3 children each. When you get out to the end of Turkey Route, where are the cars going to go? Van Hill, Elm Street, Jockey Hollow, Pepper Street, they're all going someplace. You can't get out the road and go over there at 8 o'clock in the morning now. You can't get out. It's going to be miserable. And then the wetland study, there's one thing that they talk about runoff. It's one thing for the sewers and such, but we're on the upper side of Turkey Route, so it really wouldn't bother us. But when they put Lynn Drive up, they connected Lynn Drive. I'm sure studies were made for runoff there. Well, I've been at my address for just about 40 years now. We never had a problem with runoff. Since they put Lynn Drive through and connected it through and built those beautiful houses up there, and these houses here look beautiful, great. When you live up there, it's not going to bother them on top of the hill. But after time, all that water on those houses and all that fertilizer, eventually it's going to start seeping into the hill, and everything down below, it's going to start coming out. Take a ride to my house, 96, look at the backyard, solid ice, all seeping out of the hill. My neighbor there across the street from me, same thing with him. It goes underneath Turkey Roost and seeping out onto his yard. It's just solid ice. These houses, beautiful, but they're going to have fertilizer, and maybe it won't affect Trout Unlimited way down below. But what about the ponds or lakes that are up there now? The runoff's going to get in. It may not be for 5 years and maybe 8 years. Some of those places are fun to fish, at least for the people that know about them, that live in the area. But I can see that real impact in the future because, it's great to say it's not going to affect it now, but 10 years from now, and who knows what this environment's going to be, and we're getting less snow, but we're getting a lot more rain. It's soaking in.
Thank you very much. Sir, come on up. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, John. Quinn Lehman, 689 Elm Street. First, thank you, commissioners, who are already raising the concerns that I had, at least most of them. So I will beat the dead horse just slightly. My math teacher, back when I was in grade school, taught me a very valuable lesson. When you're done working your project, look at the answer. Does it make sense? Does it pass the smell test? Does it pass the common sense test? Look at your answer. So to the point that's been raised, there's 64 students for 4-bedroom homes, and the quantity of 99 makes sense in anybody's world. I think we've already heard the answer to that. So thank you for digging deeper into that. And you, Commissioner Lupo, you've already done some of the math, and matches exactly mine, so I won't go over that again. So thank you so much.
Maybe you guys had the same math teacher.
On the matter of the traffic, yes, Turkey Roost is a challenging road to traverse. I would tag on that Elm Street with its busy traffic flow, including commercial and heavy trucks all day long, not just during the 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the afternoon that the traffic study is identified as peak periods. Those hours expand much greater in both directions from just 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the afternoon. It's all day long. But I did want to just draw your attention to the traffic study, which suggests that 30% of the volume, 30% of the traffic exiting this complex is going to head on Turkey Roost over to Hammertown. I'm not sure where that number comes from, but so be it. That being said, the traffic study, the count that was done at Hammertown and Turkey Roost, which is supposed to absorb 30% of this 200 additional cars, was done on a Saturday. It was done on Columbus Day weekend, Saturday, October 7th. I have to question the validity of those numbers on Saturday.
Well, that's why we're getting our own traffic study.
Yes, I was fine to hear that. My last point, and thank you, is we talk about this open space and preserving it. We touched on the idea of transferring it to the town. I'd like to see that as a consideration that be deeded to the town for recreation purposes.
Thank you, sir. Come on up. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Monroe. I live on 190 Turkey Roost Road. So, relative neighbor. Thank you for the opportunity. Just a few questions. I didn't hear in the presentation the type of fuel that will be used for the houses, whether there was an emissions impact done. I don't know if that's done. Question for the board is whether this board or the town has approved the treatment system like the one proposed for this project. And if you have not, what resources are available to you to understand what's being set up, the requirements, the second order consequences, especially given the characteristics of the site. The presentation talked about thousands of liters per hour or per day of water coming in. So the rate at which water is coming into the development is not the same rate at which water is going to dissipate or disappear from there. So is that going to cause a rising water table for that site or for that area? Again, here's the basic math. You have thousands of gallons of water coming in. I think the Wetlands Commission might have touched on that, but I don't know. With regards to the schools, the Board of Education budget, there were comments as part of that where, and I'm gonna quote here from articles, local articles, where students with special needs now make up 16.5% of the total district enrollment, a number that has increased steadily since the 2019 to 20 school year, which had 15% or 14.9% students with special needs. Doing the basic math, I'm not a math teacher, but if you do 99 houses, 65% of the houses have 2 kids, give or take. And if we use that figure, 16, 17% of the kids, again, back of the envelope calculations, about 22 kids might have special needs. Does the town know, does the board know how much each special needs student add to the school budget? And that's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, come on up. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Christopher Andrew, 43 Wild West Court. I got a lot of questions, but we'll try to keep it short. Not the least of our worries is what suitable fecal coli in the water actually means, but you've talked about a lot of different things here. One, I'm not sure who brought it up, was that the water treatment system is running on propane if the power goes out and there's 24 hours worth of propane there. We've all lost power for more than 24 hours. So I would love to know what happens if the power goes out for more than 24 hours. I think that would be a good question to ask. Also, in some of the estimates, I know that it was sort of shrugged off that Fawn Hollow would have to expand on its own, but using the 2017 estimates for a cost per square foot is probably not a reasonable estimate. We've all gone to the grocery store recently, which it was 2017 again. Maybe having an idea of what a reasonable expansion is and what it would cost would be helpful. So,
thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Name and address for the record.
Evening, Frank McPhail, 59 Turkey Roost Road.
Come up to the microphone first.
Frank McPhail, 59 Turkey Roost Road.
Thank you.
My wife and my 2 children.
Thank you.
You all had some great questions. Good stuff. One thing that none of you have ever asked or questioned was, this was originally proposed, I think it was 2010 that it received the original approval. It was a 55 and older community.
That was discussed at the very beginning of that.
Right, I heard her summarize it, but no one's asked, why not a 55 and over community now? You eliminate the school issues. Most 55 and older are going to be empty nesters. It's going to take away some of the school issues. You probably have less cars with a 55 and older community, takes some of the traffic issues down. The 11 years I've lived at Turkey Roost Road, I can't tell you, at least every year I've picked up debris from a side view mirror that's been just clipped off either my mailbox, my neighbor's mailbox, one of the posts, one of the telephone pole, a garbage can. Their study does not having a sensor up that measures the number of cars does not take into account that windy road, how fast people travel on that road. You don't get that from a study that's just measuring the number of cars that pass per day. And I can't accept that doubling the number of cars is not going to have a dramatic impact on that street. As far as the schools, well, I have an issue with the values that they come up with for the proposed revenue. They list that 99 homes at 800,000, they assume that those are going to get taxed and assessed at 70% of that 800,000. What they fail to take into consideration is this is the condominium. You do not own the land. You own the unit. You are taxed and assessed on the unit. The land does not have any attributed value because you don't own the land. It's either a common element or a limited common element. You have an undivided interest in that common element, but you don't get taxed on it. So the tax revenue that they calculate here, I don't think it's accurate. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near $2.15 million. Obviously, you've heard the number of students. I think it's going to be way over 64, probably double that. So it's going to be in the red. It's going to cost the town money, not save the town money. A lot of, the other concerns were addressed by Ganino and other members community members that have spoken so far. And I know there's probably 25 people that probably want to speak as well. So I'm going to end my comments here and just say that this isn't in the town's best interest. It's not in the residents of Turkey Roost Road's best interest. And I would ask that you sign the petition and please do get those studies on the traffic, the safety, because those are, I think, very important. They'll give us additional insight. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Emily Schroeder. I live on 27 Turkey Roost Road.
Thank you.
With two beautiful boys who are in the special ed department. And when we were talking before, it was brought up special ed teachers. There's a huge community of special ed specialists besides just the teacher that helps my children. So it's figuring out the cost of how much it would cost for each student, not just because of how many special ed teachers we would need, but like the occupational therapists, the physical therapists. There's so many people involved in my children's education, which is why we're here. We love Monroe. Also, since we moved here, I've had somebody drive through my front yard, take out both my mailboxes and my lampposts. I've had somebody hit a deer in my front yard. I've had multiple cars in my front yard. And it's because, sorry, I'm not public speaking.
You're doing great.
I'm the second house from Fan Hill Road. So there's a curve there. And when somebody took out the pole last year, the year before last, because you speed. I mean, it's weird. My dog freaks out when people are going the speed limit on Turkey Roost Road because he's like, who's going so slow? Because everyone goes so fast. That I can't imagine having that many cars, because I'm excited to see the traffic report that the commission puts out. And then the other thing is to mitigate some of the speeding, if this goes through, is why don't we have speed bumps? In general, because speeding is a big problem on Turkey Roost Road. And I've noticed in town it's not, but that's not for here. But just in future talks, if it goes through, it's a concern of mine to help with the speeding.
Thank you. Come on up. Name and address for the record, please.
Sue Connor, George's Lane, which is off of Turkey Roost. I'm just going to repeat what other people have said, so I'm not going to do that. I want to thank the commissioners for the questions you asked, because you asked my questions, and I appreciate that, particularly about the schools. 64 children, no way. 4 teachers, that would mean that 22nd graders would come in, 24th graders would come in. No, 3 or 4 go in one grade, 5 go in another grade. So it's far more than 4 teachers, and it's more like 120 students. And it's a huge impact on our school system. And I think we have a wonderful school system, and I don't want to see it overburdened. I also want to talk just very briefly about turkey roost. Some days you take your life in your hands on turkey roost. You go around the corner and you hope that the person stays within their lane because you can't see them coming around the corner. But again, thank you to you commissioners. You asked fantastic questions.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Sir, come on up. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Walt Worrell. I've lived on 282 Turkey Roost Road for 27 years.
Thank you.
Electrical engineer, work at a large defense company. And these gentlemen were talking about turning up Turkey Roost.
Sir, you have to just address the commission, please.
For 6 months now. As far as I know, what is that building? How's it heated? Is it electric? Is it going to be natural gas? There's no natural gas on Turkey Roost, as far as I know. There's no water lines. So are they going to be putting natural gas down this line from Fan Hill? And let's talk about even electrics. We're talking Monroe, right? Being there for as many years, there was 1 year that I lost power 6 days in a row, 5 days in a row, and 6 days in a row within a year's strength. Then I got my generator. And just last month, I lost power for several hours, right, when we had that storm. I have an easement in my backyard for water. It's a huge cauldron because the road washed out, right? You're aware of that. And it goes to Greiser Road, the dirt road. And also in that direction, you talk about Fan Hillside. But when you come up from the Hammertown Road, there's a steep incline. And then you get up to the top, you better make sure you are on your side. But when people are talking about staying on your side, generally you try to stay towards the middle because when you're driving at night, you have foxes and animals galore running out all over the place. So yeah, I tend to stay a little bit towards the center. When you see the lights, you kind of move back over. They're talking about emergency access. Where is this emergency access going to? Because there's Turkey Roost, and then way back to Hammertown, Fan Hill over here. Is it back to Turkey Roost? Is that where the access is? Is that where we're going? Turkey Roost, as we've talked about all night, is a disaster. It doesn't need speed bumps because you're worried you're going to smash mirrors off. I drive a huge truck, right? There's parts on that road where I got to just about come to a stop because they moved the lines over just a little too much. So, and then they're talking about the pumps. And if we lose power like we've done in the past, their little emergency things will go off. But who's going to come to pump the septic? And then over the years, are they doing a study when this leaches into that pond? Where does that pond go to? I guess eventually it'll get to Stevenson Dam, Lake Leonola, and dump out into the sound. Is that where it goes? Or does it go over towards Monroe Lake? I mean, is anybody doing the study on where all this goes? And then we're talking about a 250% increase. What does that mean? So originally they're talking about 99 units. Are they going to hold town ransom and say, if you don't do what we kind of like, we're going to increase the density? I mean, where's that talk coming from? You know, they're talking about how it can hold so much more housing. But first of all, if they got to tear up the street, and how long did it, right at the end of Jockey Hollow, you know, right, Jockey Hollow into Pepper Street, that waterway, how long did that go on for? It's still kind of going on in a way, right? Where they built all the new buildings that are useless, right? Not housing anything. Those big, you know, corporate parks just down the street a little bit. But I mean, from what I see in this town, they don't do anything quick. And if you were to tear up this road, it'll probably be like that for years, just like that project at the end of Jockey Hall. And so, then let's see, and then they all talked about the school systems. I mean, they're saying that it's gonna save us taxes, but Monroe has one of the highest mill rates of all small towns. Now, we're probably due for another assessment, right, to try to bring that mill rate down, but we're way up there. And you gotta love the way the town kind of like says, oh, the mill rate didn't change, but they're talking about the property tax on the vehicles that they separated from the house. You know, since I've been there, my taxes went from, let's say, 2,300 up over to 8,000 for the house. I mean, it's expensive. And now I'm gonna have a road torn up. You know, and I ride a motorcycle down this road and, it's bad enough the way it is, but now to be getting around all kinds of construction cones, they'll probably block the road at some point, especially if they have to bring gas lines. But I mean, all these things need to be brought into consideration, especially the emergency exit, because I don't think there's any other street that they can emergency exit to other than back to Turkey Roost. So anyway, thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public? Sir, come on up. Name and address for the record, please.
Mark Troiano, 34 Grist Mill Road.
Thank you.
Resident of Monroe, 7 years. I retired 40 years New York City Fire Department as a battalion chief. I just wanted to address this from a different direction. It's a long driveway to this complex. Where are they going to get water from? Are there going to be hydrants in the complex? And these buildings, from what I'm seeing in the pictures, the drawings are close together. It's a recipe for disaster because if one goes up and being that the narrow road that you're going to have access to here, you get 1 or 2 fire trucks here. The ladder trucks are not going to be able to get in. All right, I've dealt with this in New York, the Bronx, and Staten Island, and Brooklyn. The roads have to be wide enough where you can get side by side, or otherwise you're going to lose building after building after building. And, I mean, the fire department here does a great job, but their response time, by the time they get to the scene, a lot of times it's too late. So just something to think of, whether there's going to be water, hydrants, how they're going to work on it. I know the fire marshal looked at it, but I think you should look at it again.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else in the public?
That's online.
Online, I can't see that.
Ron's iPad Air.
Ron's iPad, you're up. Name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, good evening. Ron Sedownik, 20 Morgan Lane.
Thank you.
And I'm not opposed to the project, but I do have 2 questions. Number one, it was brought up that there's a 4-acre parcel that's in the northwest corner. And I've been to, I went to most of the wetlands meetings, now I'm at the zoning meeting, and it's been stated, multiple times that they're planning on doing that as a one residential home property. And the developer, has said that multiple times. But I would, and they said that they would make that, a condition of the approval in perpetuity. So I just want to make sure that the board, if they do approve this project, does agree to say that 4-acre parcel, which is adjacent to my property, would be approved for just one home in perpetuity. Again, because it's been stated publicly many times, but it does not show on the plans. They only show the 99 units that they're planning on building, and we've only spoken to that 4-acre parcel. But again, I want to get it,
agreed to by the board, that as part of the approval, they would be considering what can be done with that 4-acre parcel. And then the second item, and it was brought up again also, was that because it's two different zones, some is multi-family residential and some is 2-acre residential, that whatever happens in the RF2 zone is only what's approved for RF2. And specifically, I'm wondering about the septic systems. And I'm not positive, but I know that there's an upper septic system that's part of one of the phases, and I'm not sure if it goes into the RF2 zone or not, and if that's allowed. So I'd like to make sure that that's looked into, that any of the northern septic systems, if it's going into an RF2 zone, that is approved for having that size of a septic system. And again, in general, anything in the RF2 zone, should meet RF2 zone regulations. And those are just the 2 points that I want to bring up. Again, I'm not opposed to it, but I want to make sure that things that have been stated, in wetlands meetings and now in zoning meetings, would be part of the approval process. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else online? Amy, name and address for the record, please.
Hey, my name is Amy Hare. I'm at 102 Wild Horse Court. I echo a lot of the comments that people have made. Turkey Roost Road, I'm one of the people that someone identified as using it as a cut through. I do use it as a cut through. Every time I do, which is not very often, I'm terrified because you can't see around the corners. That intersection at the end, we're at Fan Hill, I cross it to go to Elm. It's terrifying every time. And I just am concerned about all the additional cars on the road. The water, you say it's coming in through Aquarian. Where is Aquarian getting it? And is there any assurance that it will not have any impact on neighboring wells? That's a question that I have. I'm right near Cobbler's Mill, and someone, one of the commissioners mentioned that when we're talking about the emergency exit road, someone mentioned Pinto. I would not want the emergency exit road to be Cobbler's Mill, and perhaps because there aren't lines on any of the roads that we have in this area, in this development that I'm in. And I think it'd be very dangerous for people to be coming in and out either on Pinto or Cobbler's Mill. Maybe if this gets approved, maybe the talk earlier about that one part that was going to be put as a conservation easement, maybe the Cobbler's Mill is also donated as open space and it's not developed. Just a consideration. I echo the number of students and the impact. I don't know how that math was done. My other concern is blasting. And, we're not far. When you look at the overhead, it looks like we're maybe a half a mile away from where all this blasting is going to happen. Yes, on the roads, it's a lot farther. But I'm just concerned about any impacts that the blasting might have on our property, foundations, anything. And then one request that I have, when I first heard about this, and I've only lived in town for just over 3 years. We moved up from Fairfield because we wanted a quiet community with more land. When I first read about this in the November timeframe, when Inland Wetlands approved it, I called and I was told that people that were immediately property abutters to this property would receive notifications. I would just ask that because it's impacting, this road, this development that Ron is in, and then I am in, and the other person that lives on Horse Court is in, it's a dead end, right? The way it is now, it's a dead end. There's a bunch of little streets, but they all dead end. There's one way in and one way out. And I would just respectfully request that when the commission is sending notices out to people that are immediate property abutters, that they include everybody in this, what was originally developed as Hammertown Estates, in those mailings, so that we are aware of everything that's going on and that we can attend these meetings, because I found this to be very helpful and very informative. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else online? Anybody else in the public? Come on up. Two hands. They just both talked. You gotta take a nap. Name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
I just want to say that I learned about the access from the development onto Turkey Roost. There's only one access. I think there should be two access. About having another access going up as the end of the development. And if you have to have one on Turkey Roost, have one on Turkey Roost, but at least have two access, not just one. And you're gonna laugh, but for years, I called Turkey Roost the Indianapolis 500 because it is so fast. And like the Fadian back said, when you're coming around that corner, those cars will even go over the line and they can come right toward your car. At night, it's very scary. It's a very fast road. And the trucks during the day, I mean, it is incredible. During the summer, you can't even have your windows open. You can't hear your TV because they're so fast. And you hear all the trucks, all the noise. It's not easy living on Turkey Roost Road. I moved from Norwalk thinking that Turkey Roost and Monroe would be great. When I lived in Norwalk, it was a lot quieter than it is here. And I'm kind of sorry that I did move because Norwalk was, I lived on Bubble Beach Lane in Norwalk. It's fun. It's the Indianapolis 500 to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mike, back to you. Oh, sorry. Ryan, name and address for the record, please.
Ryan Carter, 225 Turkey Roost Road. So
Thank you.
I had one question. I know it can't be answered, but in terms of all the drainage going down towards Smith Pond and the other man-made pond, is it true that effectively all the rainwater that's hitting the miles of pavement being put in there, is all that rainwater coming down to basically those wetlands, with wetlands being basically soil that doesn't drain, right? We have wetlands that go across our property, and because of all the high incidence of high rainwater events we've had, that water's getting higher than it has been over the previous years. And I'm wondering if the flow from those drains and those roads all coming down to the pond, if anyone's looked into what it will do to those wetlands and the wetlands it drains into, especially given I believe it's a floodplain. It's like under the floodplain there, so it's already prone to flooding. My other question was on the phasing. I think there's 4 phases, and they said the first phase would take 2 years. Does that mean that neighbors of this property will be undergoing 8 years of construction noises and blasting? And if so, that seems a bit excessive. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anybody else online? Mike, back to you.
Okay, thank you everyone for your comments. There were some excellent comments. Before we adjourn the hearing for tonight, we'll take it back to the applicant. They would like to address any of
What
these
time do we
questions.
have to take a vote to end the meeting?
So apologize, Chairman. So according to the bylaws, you just have to vote for new agenda items after 11. So the commission shall not put a new agenda item after 11 p.m. unless facing application deadlines or similar time constraints as defined by the Connecticut state statutes or upon majority approval by its members. So this can go for now, and if we reach 11 or old business or other business, we'll address it then.
All right, you're all set. Yeah.
All right, so I think, we've received a lot of comments today. Obviously, there's information we have to come back and provide. So we'll respond to those, I think, at the next meeting. What I will say is we certainly welcome the reviews of third parties. We think that'll be helpful in trying to address everybody's concerns. It's something we're confident in. We went through multiple peer reviews. Wetlands application, we were able to address their concerns. This is a project, there's been a lot of thought, there's been a lot of care putting into the development. It's literally been decades worth. Jason's presentation could have been 2.5 hours longer. He has so much stuff on it. So
Thank you, Jason.
yeah, that's the trimmed down version that you heard tonight. So we've taken a lot of care in getting these details, and we're confident that we can respond to them, and put forward which we think is a great development and we think will be an asset to this town. And with all the care that was taken to it, but you know what it's proposing. Great Oak Farm has 150 units in it. And I'm sure when it came up, there was a lot of people who thought this would be a burden to the town. Maybe some people feel that same way. I can tell you personally, where my brother lives, his kids are on the school system. He loves it. And he's moved around to a bunch of different towns and he settled here in Monroe. It's a fantastic place for him. And he loves it. He loves Monroe. And we hope that this development will, be another place for people to live. So we'll get back to you with all those responses for just for clarification.
March?
Because March is beyond the 35 days or that you're allotted for a public hearing, we would grant an extension to the March 12th hearing, or extension time to grant you to reach that date.
Correct.
Do we need to vote on that tonight? Or can we do that at next meeting?
Vote on what?
No, you don't need to vote.
The extension, you don't need to vote on the extension. We request
have to
that
agree.
they just have to put it in writing so that's part of the record. And if you could identify the number of days that it extends it. We have a total of 65 days that we can utilize throughout the application process to extend any portion of the application process with the permission of the applicant if they agree to it. So they are willing to work with us on that. So we don't need to vote on that. However, we are socializing March 12th as another special meeting. Just those, so we have the availability to just focus on this one project. We have talked about it a little bit with the applicant. We think that'll be the date if the commissioners could look at their calendars and do that. And then if it is the date for the public's knowledge, it will be added to the town calendar. An agenda will be put up 24 hours in advance.
We need to actually continue this hearing tonight, though, to a specific date.
Okay, all right. So it does.
March 12th.
Is the March 12th okay for the board? Okay. So we'll actually continue the public hearing to that specific date. The other housekeeping item is if the board would like to do a site walk. That's something that we should discuss now. Our recommendation is that we hold that prior to the next meeting. We have discussed the avenues of that. I know in the past, the board has done individual site walks during certain days. We have discussed that we do believe that that would still be applicable if that's how the board wants to continue with the practice. The only thing we ask is that if you have any observations that you see that has to do with the lay of the land, that's why you're going out on site, to view the lay of the land, that you would disclose those observations when you come back at the next public hearing so that they're incorporated into public record, as it could be a piece of information that helps you make your decision and render your decision. We want to make sure that it's shared with all other members of the commission and the public.
Thank you. Mike?
Okay, that concludes the public hearing portion of tonight's agenda. Thank you all for your participation. We do have other business tonight. Zoning planning matters. Kathleen.
Doesn't make a difference. I need to know.
You get it in March 12th.
Okay.
You get it March 12th.
I won't get it. Because I want to know what it is for. We have big loud trucks here. We've got cul-de-sacs and I don't know.
Mike, you good?
Yeah, Kathleen, do you have other business for tonight?
Yeah, just one other item.
Thank you.
We're just going to wait for the room to clear a little more since there's just a little bit of chatting.
Because your one question is never one question. It is. No, it's not. No, it's not.
So just to state for public record, we are continuing the public hearing for Turkey Roost to March 12th. As it relates to other business, we would like to schedule a regulation subcommittee meeting.
Okay, next week, sound good?
I think we discussed maybe doing it the 5th of February.
February 5th, Monday, that's fine.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so we will schedule a subcommittee meeting, a regulation subcommittee meeting for February 5th.
Nicole, right there.
What time?
5 o'clock.
Right? 5?
5 or 5:30?
5:30.
5:30.
5:30?
5:30.
That's four.
Pizza or tacos?
5:30. Anything else?
No.
Mike, you good?
So it's 5:30 on Monday? Yes.
All right.
Do we have any other business?
No,
Nope. Okay.
I make a
then
motion to adjourn.
A motion by Commissioner Mayini,
Condon second.
Condon second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you all, especially you, Bruno.
Thank you.